Hello. How are we all? I'm very well, thank you for asking. Yes. Um, what are we up to? What are we up to? I know it's late, but we're doing a thing. We did No Justice is back from Parts Unknown. So they're they're going to be with us in a second. Yeah. Um, I thought the time of rebellions and political drama were over. Now we had the adults in the room. Think again. Think again. It would appear the Labour government are somewhat backing themselves into a corner. They've given some concessions, but that may not be enough. Keir Starmer, it turns out, is a fucking chancer who got very, very lucky. He didn't really win an election. The government at the time lost. So that's sort of his cross to bear, really. But you know, he can definitely read the room. Unironically, what his people were pushing out there, he thinks he can read the room. I'll just give you an indication that he's currently minus 60. That's if you add the people who disapprove and the people who approve, and you take them away from each other, he's minus 60. He minus 60. Yeah. Definitely reading the room, you know. Like, if he was actually capable of reading the room, he would, in terms of service himself immediately. Because that's, I get the feeling, what the country would quite enjoy. But there we go. JOB talked about it earlier and now. Talked about it earlier and now. He is trying to square the circle. Oh, okay. Is cancer in children more popular? I believe so. Yeah. I believe pubic lice have a higher, well, integrity first and foremost, and secondly, popularity in the country. Um, Reform majority government win. Well, I don't think they will have a majority government because they're just incapable of doing anything. Warwickshire County Council, neighbouring council to the one I live in, Birmingham, which, I mean, that council's not going well either. Their council, the Reform Party took over.
I don't want to do this anymore!
We'll get to that in a second. The Reform Party took over running that council after the council elections in the early part of the summer. Or in the spring, whatever, doesn't matter. And already they elected a leader of the council, and then his deputy was an 18-year-old. Right? Small problem there. The leader of the council now has health problems, so the leader of Warwickshire County Council is barely pubescent. He is 18 years of age. Now, if you're good enough, you're old enough, I suppose. But I suspect he's not going to be good enough. So you know, that's a bit of a problem. So you know, their governing style and their general, I don't know, lack of cohesion. I think that I can't see them getting a majority. It actually takes quite a lot. Like, the one thing you've got to say about Keir Starmer, as much of a shithead as he is, and as much as a fucking liar that he is, and all the rest of it, he did manage to keep his party together enough to get a big majority. That takes a lot of discipline, frankly. Boring, true, but you need that kind of discipline and regularity of message, and you don't want like mercurial lunatics like fucking Richard Tice or fucking Rupert Lowe or Nigel Farage running the show. It's ridiculous. Like they look that like scattergun lack of leadership won't get you anywhere. Because you don't just have to win votes from like racist idiots in the southwest of, or southeast of England. You don't just have to go to Clacton, which he occasionally does apparently, and win votes there. You have to win votes in Liverpool and Middlesbrough and Merthyr Tydfil and fucking Bristol and places like this, where you're not just going to be able to rely on the votes of knobheads. You need to actually prove that you can do something. You need to be a genuinely saleable asset or a product, if you will, to think of it in a slightly cynical, modern, capitalist way. You have to provide them a product that they want to purchase. And basically you're giving them like broken biscuits when you promised, entire cookies. And people don't want that. People are paying for bread, not croutons. Win votes in Cockermouth, true. And Shitterton. And Fingering Hoe. And Twat. These are all real places. Anyway. Just waiting on No Justice of the MTGs. Is she live? She said she would be around. Is Ass Hill real? That doesn't seem real. It seems perfectly possible, but it doesn't seem real. I don't think she's live. Maybe she's running a little late. I don't know. Just seen a notification to say she's live. Really? Well, I didn't get a notification, so something's gone wrong. Crinkly Bottom. Well, Crinkly Bottom isn't really like a real place as such, but maybe. I don't know. I'm fucking talking about. She's not live on my end. I don't. Oh no, there she is. Oh, she's just gone live. Yeah, there we go. Okay. She did host Navarra Media. Yes. I am a guitar guy. God love you. And no offense, genuinely no offense intended here, but I know a lot about like we talk behind the scenes. She and I'm aware of her like schedule and stuff. I watched part of the show that she did. She's very good. I half jokingly started by saying, "Oh, she's going to take over from Ash Sarkar," but she sort of taking over from Ash Sarkar, which is fucking dope. I love that shit. I'm genuinely really proud of her achievements and stuff. And when she eventually gets elected queen or something, because that's how that works, I will miss her. But it's what's going to happen. Hello there, Helena. How are you?
It's been a day. I've been gallivanting. Is what I've been doing, but I'm good. It's good to be back. It's good.
Yeah. Why did you go? Can we reveal your secret location now? Presumably.
Oh, we can. Yeah.
Why did you go to America and persuade Donald Trump to start World War III?
Because I'm an agent of chaos.
Fair enough. No, you know what? I appreciate the honesty. Thank you.
Absolutely.
It's the straightest answer I've ever received from anyone. So.
Very true. Very true. What have you been up to in my stead?
Definitely not going onto any RAF bases with paint or otherwise, because that would be terrorism. So.
Actual factual terrorism. Yes.
Yeah. So I haven't been doing that at all, and you can't prove otherwise.
Exactly. No, I would hate to contradict you.
Yeah. Yes. How was Navarra?
Oh, it was really good. I always enjoy hosting Novara. I was love to see the gang again after a good while.
Yeah.
I thought I had a good chance to rant about Sir Keith specifically.
Yes. Yeah. Indeed. Well, before we get on to that, because we'll dive straight into question time in a second. How was your trip? How was Vegas?
I mean, Las Vegas is shit, by the way. I'd like I'd like to be very clear. If right, okay, I'll rephrase that. If you like casinos and or shops, great, you'll love it. You'll love it, right? As someone who enjoys neither of those things.
Yeah, I was about to say, that doesn't leave a lot for me. I'm not a fan of casinos, and I'm not really a big shop person either, so...
No, exactly. Like, I was not exactly enamoured with the place. I loved going to the Magic Con, I loved playing the Pro Tour. I didn't do very well at the Pro Tour, I did really badly at the Pro Tour, actually. But I enjoyed going, I enjoyed seeing all the people that are on my team from the last Pro Tour. So I had fun. I had lots of fun doing the Magic stuff.
Yeah.
But Las Vegas itself, a shithole. Honestly, I remember saying to one of the people I was there with, Etienne, I turned to them and I said, you know, this is the worst place I've ever been, and I've been to Dundee.
Oh, ruined. Absolutely ruined. Would you suggest that they shouldn't have stopped testing nuclear bombs there?
No, I wouldn't go quite that far, but it's close. It's real close.
Well, they've got to test them somewhere, and, you know, it saves demolition costs.
Well, there was some nice bits about Vegas, right?
Well,
like,
you got to see the orb that Khan denied us.
Yeah, I literally did. I did see the fucking orb, and honestly, it's a gigantic eyesore. On fucking Tom.
Of course it is. Of course it's horrible. Why the fuck would you want this? It's mad. Like, it's one of those things you probably just sort of get used to because it's there every day if you live in the area or whatever. But like, every new person that goes there is like, what the fuck is this thing? Why is this fucking this skyscraper-sized half tennis ball winking at me? What is this?
Yeah, it was just all adverts as well. It was just a giant advertisement.
Well, of course it is. It's fucking Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. It was really dystopian.
Yeah.
But on the Monday night, so I had 2 days off on the Monday, Tuesday, where I was going to do Vegas stuff. Then I realised there is no stuff. There was just casinos and shops.
Yeah. Well, did you at least go to a casino? You must have.
I did.
Yeah.
I watched my mate lose $1,500, and I was like, I'm glad I don't gamble.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Yeah.
But what I did do on the Monday night, I went to one of the Vegas shows, right? So it was like a mix of comedy, acrobatics, circus performance, and burlesque. And honestly, show fantastic.
Okay.
That was the highlight of the occasion. It was really, really good.
Dundee is pretty
I really
cool,
enjoyed
damn
that.
it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed playing
There's a
Magic. Enjoyed the
Factum
rest of
in
Vegas
the
itself.
Tesco.
It was,
Outrageous.
really. And the fact that the roads are named after the casinos.
Oh, that's really grim. Oh,
It's
no.
it's really dystopian. Yeah.
They're not even calling it like Abraham Lincoln Road or some shit. Like that later makes sense.
I mean, there was some roads that were named after famous people, like there's Elvis Presley Boulevard or whatever. But like Elvis Presley,
Elvis died here.
Yeah, Elvis Presley Boulevard was literally at the intersection of two other roads, both named after casinos on the intersection, which were Circus and Fontainebleau.
Yeah.
So like literally, it was just we've got this one road here, and there's Casino Roads everywhere else.
Well, you would have thought Elvis Presley Highway would be on the intersection of Cholesterol Way and Hardcore Drugs Avenue. You would think, but
Well, isn't that basically every avenue in Las Vegas?
well, pretty much, I would imagine. Yes. Yeah.
Also, Doc Gobber and chat. Did I take Elon's carway? I did.
Oh,
Go on
did you?
Elon's
Oh,
carway.
okay.
I did go on. It was the best way of getting from the hotel I was staying at to the convention centre. So I thought I'd try it out. You know, you can't knock it till you've tried it. And I had this big rant at the driver about why this isn't a metro. Why is it not a metro? Because all it does. All it does is stop at predetermined bits,
Yeah.
right? Predetermined stations underground, and you've taken the train. You've split it up and added extra engines and extra drivers.
Yeah, everything that, well, not just Elon Musk, but tech bros do is pretending they've invented a new thing but made an old thing worse. So they'll invent, like you say, they'll take a train which already works as a system and make it worse like that. They'll do the Hyperloop, which is a tunnel which already existed as a piece of technology, been around for a very long time. Make it worse because only Teslas can use it very slowly. If there's a fire, everyone just fucking dies. But there are like bisexual lighting. Like that's the only advantage. Like you've taken pre-existing things, made them shitter, and then sold them to us like you're a genius. It's mad. It's fucking mad. The entire world is built on bullshit. Clearly, the entire world is just Las Vegas now.
Oh, 1 second. My headphone noise isn't coming through. I do apologise. Let me just try and fix something here. 1 sec.
No problem. Okay. Suzzled Snake, that is cope. Massive cope. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? She probably won't be able to hear me just yet. Yes.
Right, try speaking again, see if I can hear you.
Yes, hello there. Can you hear me?
No, that's not working.
No.
Either.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, computer. I appreciate it.
Well, it would not be a leftist stream, dear Trap, without some tech issues. You know. The gamer tube that sucks Teslas. I don't know what that means. But yeah, I guess. Well, I think I told the chat about his idea for Dodger Stadium, which was like the worst transit idea ever. Where basically you would have tiny little train cars, but they wouldn't be a train, and they'd go very, very quick, admittedly, but there would be absolutely no stopping distance between any of them, so if they ever broke down, you'd just have a massive pile-up and everyone would die. And you couldn't leave the stadium when you wanted to. You had to go there at the exact time that was planned, and then leave at the exact time that you planned hours before. So it didn't matter if there was a rain delay, or if you wanted to leave early because the game was basically over, you couldn't. And you only had 4 seconds, I think it was, on average to get each person out. So there was no redundancy built in. So if anyone, say, shat themselves and had to be like squelch their way out or something, or drop their bag everywhere and had to pick things up, again, you'd just get a pile-up of vehicles and lots of dead people.
I'm talking about Elon Musk's dugout loop now.
Yeah, the plan for the Dodger Stadium one, which was just worst idea ever.
Adam Something has an excellent video on it that I highly recommend.
Fucking mental. Like, literally, there's no stopping it. So if one of them breaks down, they just plough into each other until they're all crashed. Why is that a better system at all? Fucking hell.
It's just making trains, but worse, right? Like you said before, like, it's just all the tech bro stuff is just reinventing shit that already exists, but worse, right? Reminds you of the Mia Mulder video about what 3 words? Just reinventing latitude and longitude and making it shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally all they do. Just build a fucking train.
Well, the thing is, they want to reinvent the wheel, right? Because if you reinvent the wheel, then whatever private capital that you've had invested in you returns like 5-fold, right?
Yeah.
So you have to. No, it's not good enough to just make a new thing that solves a problem. It has to be a complete reinvention of something that was previously normal that then becomes the next big thing.
But like,
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
This is fundamentally the problem with capitalism, is that you're not going to get permanent growth and development. Like, the wheel works. You can make subtle improvements to it, like putting an inflatable tyre around it and things like that. But ultimately, round thing goes better than any other shape.
Yeah.
It's a solved problem.
Yeah.
You can't, like, reinvent it. It's literally the thing. There's no solving it. It is the solution.
And the irony, of course, being that given we've all agreed now that the wheel is the solution, you would want to have the wheel that had the smallest amount of friction. And wouldn't you know, a metal train wheel on a metal rail has much less friction than a paved surface and a tyre.
Yeah, literally a lot less. Yeah. And you can carry generally a lot more people a lot more safely.
Yeah. I'm going to go get my stand for my camera that I realised is still in my suitcase. So please entertain chat for 30 seconds.
Will
and then
do.
we can get on with question time.
Will do. Yes, Suzzled Snake, thank you for the bitty bits. Much love to you. Dundee is not pretty cool. I'm sorry. Like, no offence. Like, Birmingham isn't very cool either. I'm not like flexing. I'm just saying Dundee isn't very cool. It just isn't, and I refuse to be gaslit into believing so. Anyway, yes, if you're enjoying whatever content this is, you can give money to either No Justice or myself in the form of bits and subs and super chats and memberships, etc., etc. And I will be very, very grateful. What is this? Locomotives with non-circular wheels. What in the fuck is this nonsense? There's no point in pretending that we're going to be a large gallery in the museum. Locomotives with non-circular wheels have always been something of a minority taste. In 1887 in the United States, the Swinnerton Locomotive Driving Wheel Company took a unique approach 2 locomotives.
I don't want to do this anymore.
They did a polygon wheel with 118 sides, each segment having about 2 inches long. I mean, if you've got a 2-inch long 118 side wheel, it's virtually round. It's just a less efficiently less round thing, but it's basically still fucking round. And I noticed that this train doesn't exist anymore. Count the rings. Boom. Thank you to James Holmes, who says, personally, I'm in favour of friction. Well, good for you, I guess. Continue to drive... I don't know, drive a metal wheel on concrete, then. There'd be loads of friction. I fail to see how that would work out badly. Brum has multiple American food fast chains in its downtown shopping street, literally. And an actual bull on Bull Ring, yes. That is literally also correct.
Speaking of Birmingham in America, did you see Joe Lycett trying to reunite the Birminghams in a NATO replacement treaty?
I did see that, and it's very silly and fun, yes.
And I'm very right-wing, and I loved it.
Oh, exactly, yeah, it's wonderful. Okie dokie. So question time this week is from Fife, from St Andrews in the Kingdom of Fife.
The Kingdom of Fife.
Indeed. Yes, mainly known for its golf course, let's be honest. Look, and it's, I suppose, the university, yeah.
Well, hang on a minute. Just before we move on, right? On the subject of golf courses, right? You know, obviously, there are loads of things about Las Vegas that made me lose my mind. You know what the most made me lose my mind? You know what most made me lose my mind? There are two. There are 2 fucking golf courses in the desert.
In the desert, yeah.
They built golf courses in the fucking desert.
There's a worse example. Look at Arizona. If you go to Arizona around Phoenix, because Phoenix is a fucking massive city, there are dozens of golf courses just in the desert, where grass really isn't supposed to be. It doesn't naturally occur that way. It takes a ludicrous amount of water to do that. So
yeah, someone mentioned to me whilst I was there that apparently Las Vegas uses more water per capita than every other city on the planet.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Again, it's not really. No one's supposed to be there. I've had this with the Inuit peoples, and I'll say the exact same thing for the desert peoples. Move. It's not. People aren't really supposed to be here, mate. If you have to build a house out of ice, or I don't know, how do you even live in a desert? Cave or some shit? Like, move. Find some fucking grass. Find a tree. It's lovely.
Yeah, not exactly somewhere that was designed for human habitation.
Exactly,
right?
it's fine. There isn't much on the planet we can live on, but there are bits that we can. So move there.
Just genuinely, just the worst excesses of everything about America. It's not surprising that I didn't like it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the kind of place. I don't think it's built for leftists, really. Not really our sort of bag. Really.
Which makes it even funnier that they put a Magic the Gathering convention there when Magic the Gathering is played by a lot of leftists.
Yeah, they probably did it just to annoy us.
I mean, they do it every year. I guess they think it's prestigious, right? But whatever.
Well, yeah, they probably give them good rates because it's fucking Vegas. They're desperate to get every event in the world there.
Oh, that's true, and also the fact that they did it in June, right? So they would have gotten a good rate already because June is off season. Because when I landed, it was 42 degrees.
Oh, that's too much. Move! It's not. People are not lizards or something. You're not supposed to exist in that kind of temperature. Fucking Christ.
Absolutely ridiculous. Although to be fair, it was still more. I still coped better with 42 degrees of dry desert heat. Yeah. Than I cope with 29 degrees of humid British heat. It was very strange.
Yeah, no, it's been nice weather whilst you were away. Been very pleasant. Yeah. And also the cricket was lovely as well. So
it was glorious.
Absolutely.
It
wonderful.
was absolutely glorious to watch.
It was indeed.
Speaking of which, I will be watching it next week. I have tickets for Edgeworthstown.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yes, I did have to have a little dig at Boy Meets Minnie. Just point out the first ever time that a team has had 5 centuries and lost in the entire history of Test match cricket.
That's a thing that happened.
So, highest combined totals by an Indian team in the first and second innings to lose as well. Just fun. Oh, exactly. In chat. Hello, boy meets Minnie. I didn't know you were in. Genuinely, I was just repeating the Indian slander. So there you go.
VVS Laxman, Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar, Mohammed Kaif. Your boys took one hell of a beating.
Exactly. Anyway, yeah. Oh,
don't mind I included Mohammed Kaif there. Someone incredibly average.
Yeah, it was a little bit odd. Yeah, a little bit.
No, because he always gets included in those compilations of the best cricket catches ever.
Yeah.
That's what reminded me of him.
Fair enough.
Tonight we've come to the beautiful east coast of Fife, to the town of St Andrews. But our audience reflects the electoral picture across the whole of Scotland. Welcome to Question Time on the BBC News Channel. I play it and sounds from St Andrews.
Notice that they've subtly changed that, by the way. It's now electoral picture, not how they voted last time. Which is why they get to have the Reform Party everywhere, including on this one. There is a Reform person. Yep. Now, you would think, oh, they've got a Reform member of the Scottish Parliament on, right? That doesn't exist. There is no such thing. So they got a councillor. They just got a random fucking councillor.
Yep, they have. And, of course, no Green representative, despite the 8 MSPs.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, really, of all the parties, you couldn't argue that they have underrepresented Reform. Like, in Scotland, come on, are you taking the piss?
Like a baby otter.
Really?
Although the current MRP poll shows that the Reform might actually take the border constituencies from the Tories.
Oh, yeah, don't get me wrong, they probably will. But considering they've had literally no electoral success north of the border so far...
That's true.
Why have you got, like, at least have the panel reflect the local situation? Fucking hell. Thank you, James Holmes, with 5 gifted memberships. Much love to ya!
Panel from the SNP is Scottish Government Cabinet Secretary for Social Justice, Shirley Ann Somerville. She previously served...
Now, you've always got to be careful, because it's the SNP, so is this TERF SNP or not TERF SNP?
I have no idea about her opinions on trans people, but what I do know is that when she's obviously the Secretary for Social Justice, she's the one who essentially is the architect of all of their welfare bills that exist to try and deal with the fact that Westminster keeps slashing welfare.
Yes,
so
which
Shirley Ann Somerville's pretty good in my books.
Okay, and I'm sure we'll get on to Westminster slashing budgets and such.
Yeah.
Served as Education Secretary and is MSP for Dunfermline. Anna Sarwar has been leading Scotland.
Literally the most pathetic, worthless human being ever.
He is
and just goes to show you how well ethnic minority communities have integrated into British society, that a man called Anas Sarwar can be as pathetic and briefcase as any white Labour politician. So, you know, honestly, we do multiculturalism perfectly.
I mean, his name is pretty close to anus, so I think that scores some points.
That is pretty good.
Scottish Labour for over 4 years now. At last July's general election, his party overturned SNP Westminster dominance, although they remain the 3rd largest party in the Scottish Parliament. Andrew Bowie is from the Conservatives. And
look at him. He looks a cunt. Straight away. Look
literally,
at the most slappable face in Minecraft.
I mean, do you know what this guy's famous for?
Oh, he genuinely, it rings a bell, but I can't place him. No.
He's the Scottish Tory 6-chip twat.
Oh, he's the 6-chipper! Oh!
He is the 6-chipper?
Oh, no. Mate, I mean, you're ruined. Leave now.
Scottish Secretary. He's Westminster MP for West Aberdeenshire and Kincardine and was previously a minister in Rishi Sunak's government. And in hot pursuit of the Conservatives and everyone else is Reform UK, represented tonight by Thomas Kerr.
Oh, hang on a minute.
Is he wearing a Bo Selector mask? Weird. I don't know what celebrity this is supposed to be.
But some people in my chat are asking me what the reference is for Scottish Tory 6-chip twat. So am I going to learn you a thing in chat? So this guy, Andrew Bowie, MP,
Yes.
he posted saying, people ask why people don't want to get into politics. Well, I posted a picture of my lunch on the internet, a harmless plate of fish and chips, and I got served up a torrent of abuse. And you literally, right, this guy had a plate of fish and chips, and it's just fish, but the chips, he had 6 of them, and they were like arranged in a lattice.
Yeah. Oh god, I've had that before. Right. Oh god, this was 20 plus years ago now. Good lord. We went to see Llanelli Scarlets play against Bath in the very first Anglo-Welsh Trophy final at Twickenham, and so we stayed in near Heathrow. So we went into Richmond, which is like, you know, really posh bit of West London.
Oh, it's a Lib Dem constituency, so that'll tell you why.
Indeed, yeah. Like, you're not even middle class. Middle class people are like chimney sweeps in Richmond. You know what I mean? Anyway, so we went to the London Welsh Club, and it was lovely. We got fucking bladdered. Anyway, before we went out, we had a meal in the town, and my dad ordered the fish and chips. Now, my dad is an Irishman who grew up with outside toilet and like no electricity in rural Ireland in the 1960s. He's that person. Whatever you're thinking in your mind, he is that. And he ordered fish and chips, and the fish came out, and he placed it down, and he was waiting for his chips. And he was thinking, like, oh, they'll bring out like a bowl of chips separately or something. And after a couple of minutes, he called the woman over and went, I've ordered fish and chips. I've only got the fish. And she said, oh, they're underneath. And so he lifted it up, and there were like 8 chips stacked on top of one of each other. I've never seen a man look more disgusted by something that wasn't like murder, basically, in my entire life. He genuinely looked like you just burned his house down and killed his family. He was so offended. He was like, and he spent the rest of the night getting really, really drunk, going, fucking hell, we paid, I think it was like 10 quid or something, which at the time was a lot of money for a fucking meal.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. I mean, it's like 25 quid now.
Yeah, some shit like that. And he was like, I paid 10 quid for fucking 8 chips, you cunt. Why the fuck did you bring me out here? To our friend who was like, you know, the kind of leading us around West London. Fucking amazing. Unbelievable. Anyway.
Literally. But yeah, like a lattice of chips.
It's the like the poshest shit. Oh, anyway.
Until his defection in January, he was a Conservative councillor in Glasgow. And while Nigel Farage leads the party all over the UK, Thomas is now its spokesperson here. And the pro-Scottish independence journalist and broadcaster Leslie Riddoch has been observing and talking about Scotland for decades. She's now a columnist for the National newspaper and has a weekly podcast.
Wow. Podcast! They're not allowed. That's not allowed.
Our podcast. Ooh. Sorry, I took the piss out of everyone with the podcast.
I mean, reasonable, very reasonable to take piss out of podcasters. But we're not allowed to have left-wing journalists here. What's going on?
No, are there such a thing as left-wingers anymore? I don't know. Anyway, I can't wait to move to the Islamo caliphate of
New York City.
Marxism, New York Cityism. Yeah, let's go.
Absolutely, let's go.
Unbelievable. The fucking meltdown is tremendous. Beautiful.
We love to see it.
Yeah.
Welcome to St Andrews, and welcome to our panellists here, welcome to our audience, very good to see you, and welcome, of course, to you at home. Sit back and watch the programme, joining the debate on social media, it's up to you. Right, let's take our first question, which is from Lorna Gibson.
Thanks. Why is the UK Labour government making drastic cuts in social welfare while increasing defence spending?
And I think it's worth mentioning the exact numbers here. Because he went to the NATO summit and Donald Trump bullied him, he's now spending 80 billion more on defence. Whilst also cutting this budget, which will save 4 billion. Like, do you ever feel like you're literally being robbed to buy more nuclear bombs?
You're literally doing warfare, not welfare. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I had an incredible rant this afternoon on Novara about how much of a fucking disgusting monster Keir Starmer is, but not just a monster, but also just kind of pathetic and stupid as well.
Yeah.
In the just completely incompetent, has no idea what he's doing. It's just like, but all of the things that we were told about, oh, he's a decent man, oh, he's the adults in the room, he's going to be a competent leader. everything's just the opposite of reality.
Well, I love the briefing that was put out about, like, oh, Starmer thinks he can read the room. Your popularity, you're minus 60% in approval. Read the room. If you were to read the room, it would involve a fucking rope. What are you talking about? Like, you would literally have to, in terms of service yourself, to read the room, because the country fucking despises you, you fool.
Yep,
Anyway.
literally, exactly.
Thank you, James, who, I mean, a take on Anas Sawa here. Read my lips. All the austerity.
So, Anas, I'm going to come to you, but the plan, assuming it goes ahead, there's lots of question marks now, is that
I think it will go ahead, but he's going to have to, like, give in so much that it'll be worthless. So basically, they'll have spent the entirety of their first term, or the first year of their term, trying to do austerity and then backtracking when it becomes so unpopular that it's already killed them.
So getting none of the fiscal room that they want, because that's what this is. This is penny pinching for the Treasury.
Yeah.
This is, we need to find cuts so that we don't have to raise taxes because we said we wouldn't, and therefore disabled people, you've got to die. And they're going to have to U-turn on this and do whatever and piss off the general public even further. So they've got none of the political capital either, because everyone either sees them as the U-turn incompetent party, or they see them as the disabled democide party. And neither of those things are particularly good.
And they've backed themselves into such an absurd corner that with a majority of 170 or whatever it is, whatever the absurd fucking number, 140, they've got they're now in a situation where they either have to capitulate to the point of it being not worth bothering, or rely on the Tories to get the fucking legislation through.
Yeah, exactly. It's a shambles. It is an absolute gigantic shambles, right?
Yeah.
Literally. And again, like, I point this out on Navarre as well. The PRP is handpicked.
Yeah. Yeah, these were supposed to be... These are fucking stormtroopers. They were literally fucking airdropped, to use the military phrase. They've been parachuted into these constituencies. They're Starmer's people, and even they're like, I can't sell this on the doorstep. This is too evil.
Literally, Regina George's army of skanks. That's what they are.
They are fugly skanks. This is true.
Like, literally, and he can't even get these people to heal. Apparently, the Starmer's aides and whips were having to shout at rebel MPs today over.
Well, they've wheeled out Bez. Bez has been ringing them up all week. Old Deputy Prime Minister Rayner has been ringing them up all week, going, "Oh, can you vote to, like, impoverish the poor?" And even the right wingers have been like, "No, I literally can't do that. This is fucking awful."
Exactly. I mean, again, what a fucking traitor, Angela Rayner. Jesus
God,
Christ.
unbelievable. Did you see her shithouse performance at PMQs? Like, you can tell she doesn't believe any of it. You can tell she's just like, you can tell the difference between when she believes something and when she's reading out Morgan McSweeney's primer. Because, like, she's got, like, fire in her eyes and she's like a normal person, and then all of a sudden, Labour Party is the party of work. We believe in making work pay. Like, it's just, you're not selling it. You're not selling it to me.
The welfare bill will save something like $5 billion by 2030. Equally, on the other hand, the government's pledging to spend $60 billion on defence next year. How has the Labour government got to a position where so many of its Labour MPs are rebelling and saying that you are penalising the poor and the vulnerable in order to save money?
Well, the first thing to say is that everyone can see that the world is clearly an unsafer place than it was even from a year ago, never mind from a decade or more ago. And therefore, the first duty of any government is to make sure we're protecting our citizens, and that's why the significant increase.
Okay, but how does having a second way of deploying nuclear weapons help keep us safe? Because this is the thing, I mean, this is a wider philosophical point, but we don't have a defence budget. What we have is an empire budget.
Yeah.
When was the last time the British Army did anything to defend Britain?
Well, as Morinaka points out in chat, we're an island. We're a nuclear-armed island nation. There was an article going around about this idea, we need to prepare for a war on the home front. Bitch, we absolutely fucking don't.
Yeah.
That is the most lunatic thing I've ever heard.
They don't invade fucking North Korea or Pakistan. Countries that they could definitely take. Because nuclear weapons, so they couldn't take them. So how the fuck are they going to do that here? It's absurd. The only threat we actually face would be from an invasion from America if Trump loses it one day. Like, literally, like, if he decides, oh, fuck it, Denmark, I'm not sure about, so we'll leave Greenland and we'll just take this little island here. Fuck it. You know? No one, like, the Russians can't take fucking central Ukraine. They're not going to take Britain. Shut the fuck up. God, it's so pathetic. It's so cocked. Like, Donald Trump has basically gotten you to the point of spending 80 billion, and yet you've been penny pinching over 1.5 billion to freeze Granny. You mad bastard.
And that's the thing as well, is that Donald Trump just went and just said, I guess we need to spend 5% of your GDP on this. He just made up a number.
Yeah.
Well, 5%, I guess.
Total nonsense. What? And I can only hope this is just being done to, like, placate him, and that they never get anywhere near this, because they wait until his term's over and then they spend 2.5% or something. Do you know what I mean?
You'd like to hope so, given how easy it's been for everyone else, for every other world leader to hoodwink Donald Trump by just buttering him up, you know. But I don't think.
I think you mean buttering up Daddy.
Buttering up Daddy.
Unbelievable. Honestly, Mark Rutte. I thought an event where Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer turned up. You can't outcook them. You can't be more pathetic than those two creatures that have turned up to represent ostensibly two of the more powerful countries in the world. And yet Mark Rutte has managed to debase himself to a genuinely sad extent. I feel sorry for him. Calling Donald Trump daddy, end it. Literally, your life is worthless. Stop.
And like this was just months after the EU was potentially on the cusp of completely writing America out of the will, you know?
Yep.
Of not inviting them to the party and getting into bed with Canada, and now we're like, oh, Daddy's home. How pathetic! How utterly pathetic!
And how pathetic of the MAGA movement. You know, they're now selling Daddy merch.
Oh my god!
You're so cocked, lads. It's embarrassing. Stop.
Sigmund Freud would have a fucking breakdown.
True. Thank you, Kieran, who says the UK has pissed off Cyprus so much with the use of military bases for Israel's extra support that the Home Office are saying it is unsafe for Brits to go there now. Yeah, good. But countries that aid and abet genocide should be ostracised. Now, I don't want the average citizen to be beaten up in the streets of fucking Cyprus or whatever, but there should be do you remember Americans that would come over to Europe during the George Bush years and say they were Canadian? That. It's that. It should be embarrassing to say that you're British in actually civilized places, you know.
Yeah, just pretend you're Australian. It's fine.
Well, they say that when I went over to Turkey, and we attended a football match, and they said if anyone asks, you're Australian. Okay, because if you say you're English, you're not walking out of the stadium. Okay, you're Australian. Thankfully, no one asked though, so it was fine. But you know.
Increase in defence spending is so important, and that increase in defence spending will also disproportionately benefit us here in Scotland, because so much of the expertise, for example, in our shipbuilding industry exists in Scotland, so that's billions of pounds of more investment and securing our shipbuilding industry here for decades to come. But on the important question of welfare, look, Labour MPs and ministers are doing their jobs, and that is trying to clear up the mess left by the Conservatives and to build a welfare system that is sustainable and is fair and prioritises work. And what we have to see in the coming hours...
Again, notice, prioritises work. Not prioritises Labour, just work.
Yeah, they're just destroying. They're destroying the Labour movement. They're destroying it forever. It'll be gone. It will literally be gone because of this fucking pathetic government and the pathetic people in charge of its complete detachment from every single founding principle of the Labour Party. They just decided because again, they're Liberal Democrats. They're Liberal Democrats who realised they couldn't win elections as Lib Dems. That's it. That's all they are.
In the coming days is an agreement and movement that makes sure we meet the principles we all fundamentally agree on.
So
and
when
what are
you
those
say
principles?
movement and reach an agreement, you mean concessions on the part of the government?
There clearly has to be movement on the part of the government, so we have a bill that meets the principles that every Labour MP, whether they have signed the Reason Amendment...
by the way, hello Mixed Vivian Wolf, everyone going follow Viv, she's awesome.
Do it.
And as to his point, this is the problem they get themselves into. When they say dumb shit like, oh, we have to freeze your granddad, otherwise there'll be a run on the pound. or dumb shit like that. Like they've sold this. This bill has to get through in its current form, otherwise the country's going to collapse under the weight of all the disabled, right? So if they move at all on this and they give in any way, it reveals the obvious truth to any normal person that they were fucking bullshitting in the first place.
Yep, there was all lies. I mean, obviously, what's that? A Labour politician has lied about something. I
know,
don't believe
crazy.
you. What a crazy turnout for the books, eh?
Can the six-chip twat look any more sinister?
Oh God!
He looks like a fucking a movie villain who's about to cackle as Batman is lowered into a vat of acid.
Like, genuinely, we have the slimiest politicians in the world in this fucking country, and Italy has Berlusconi. Like,
True. Berlusconi. Fucking bunga parties are less sleazy than our current government. Fucking
yeah,
hell.
they're too busy. They're too busy. They're going bunga on Daddy's cock.
True. At least the bunga parties. Like, the thing you've got to say about sex workers is at least they are consenting.
Yeah.
For a certain price, they are consenting. Whereas the Tories don't ask for consent.
Or not agree on. And what are those agreed principles? We all agree that we require welfare reform. We all agree we have to clear up the mess left by the Conservatives. We all agree that all those that can work should work. We all agree that those that need support into work should get the support they need. We all agree that those who can't work should get the support they need. And we also all agree that any change has to be a fair one. That's what they're working towards, and that's why I'm confident that we will get movement, we will get an agreement, and we will fix the mess left by the Conservatives and make sure we're prioritising work and giving support to those people that need it right across our country.
So when you say there's going to be movement,
like,
and
that's just bollocks. Because when you say the principles are, well, we need to ensure that it's a fair system and people who need support will get it and those who can work will work, right? That's nonsense, because the literal entire point of the whole bill was just a penny pinch, right? It was just
100%.
so that Rachel Reeves had more fiscal headroom because she didn't want to raise taxes. That's the only reason. And because if there was an actual principle about getting people into work who want to work, they wouldn't be cutting a benefit that is explicitly one without a work requirement, which is PIP, right? Yeah. There are people who have PIP who are in work and it keeps them in work. So taking it away will make them less likely to be in work, right? So fundamentally, the bill in its original form did not even meet those principles that they say that they want to meet. And second of all, if someone says, oh, well, we all agree the welfare system needs reform, fuck off. Fuck off, it doesn't. Because reform means cuts.
Yeah.
That's all it means. Every single time, all it means is cuts.
Indeed.
All it means is more people in misery. All it means is more bullshitting about this idea that there's this mythical cohort of people who are getting benefits who don't deserve it, despite the PIP forward rate being basically zero. So anyone who tells you that the welfare system needs reform is lying to you, or they're just a cunt. And like, if the Labour MPs en masse, even the rebels, fundamentally agree with that principle, then they can go fuck themselves. Yep. They can just go and go fuck themselves, because I'm voting for a different political party, you know?
True. Firstly, yes, Silvio Berlusconi is dead. He died in 2023. And secondly, everyone go and follow Mad Cat Scotty / Katie Marshall on YouTube.
Do it.
The concessions. I presume this means that the government is not going to be cutting £5 billion of the welfare bill. In fact, it's going to have to give way and not be able to save that amount.
Well, I know discussions are ongoing. I imagine discussions are ongoing even as we are recording this programme right now. But
They were, and they didn't go well.
No.
Shouting matches and bullying and all kinds of cajolery, and we'll wait and see what happens. I still wouldn't be surprised if the bill does get pulled at some point.
I mean, have you seen the concessions, apparently?
Yeah, basically, it's, as always, the old will be protected and the young can go and fuck themselves. Yep,
that's literally it. You're exactly right. That is what is happening here. There's two things. Basically, the PIP changes will only affect new claimants, which is about £1.5 billion difference, you know?
So young, so the younger. So you were disabled more recently, so you can go fuck yourself.
Yet another instance of two-tier care.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Unbelievable.
And second thing is that they want there to be a consultation. That's it. That's the concessions they're willing to do, is to fuck over young people but keep the biddies on side. And the second half of it is just, have you considered thinking? And of course, they'll come back after the consultation and go, "We've thought about it and we don't care."
Yeah.
Because the consultation would have to be on the fiscal elements, and the fiscal, they'll get exactly the same legal pushback that doomed the Tories' attempts at welfare reform, because they couldn't justify any of the fiscal plans on any kind of humanitarian metric, because the fiscal plans are just a penny pinch for the Treasury, and they'd have to admit it. So they can't. So they'll just end up not having to do the reforms because they'll get a legal injunction. They'll have the legal. What's the legal challenge called? I forget. Judicial review.
Judicial review. Yeah.
Yeah, that will say that no, it's illegal. You can't just do things because you want that you say are about helping the disabled, when actually it's about the fact that you just don't want to give them any money.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this to take us back 18 months. This is the result of the thing that we warned, both you and I, and many other people warned, of straitjacketing yourself with stupid fiscal rules that you made up. Because they're so desperate to avoid tax rises that they're penny pinching all over the fucking place, and having to factor in 80 billion more that was bullied out of them by Daddy.
Literally, and things like when you think they say, well, they're penny pinching on little things. You know, they cut like, was it 250 million for like a support line for men who've experienced domestic abuse? And I was like, that's nothing. That's like nothing in terms of the national budget, and you're cutting that away. How fucking despicable!
It really is. I mean, we don't... Again, when the Reform Party come in and they initiate Doge, we've already had it. It's already happened, fundamentally. There's nothing left to cut.
Confident that there will be movement, that there will be an agreement, and we will build a welfare system that works for everyone right across our country.
And since we've got you here, where do you think that movement will be?
So, look, there's some concerns being raised, in particular around PIP. It's important to stress, though, that PIP is a benefit that exists in England and Wales. It is not a benefit here in Scotland. Here in Scotland, we have the ADP, which the SNP announced just yesterday. They're reviewing the assessments and the criteria for, and they recognise that the sustainability of it is in question. It's interesting, though, that they think it's OK for the SNP to look at it, but they don't think it's OK for a UK Labour government to look at it. But also, other changes have to be looked at. But the most fundamental point here is 1 in 6 young Scots are economically inactive in Scotland, and that compares to it being 1 in 8 in the rest of the United Kingdom. That is not a proper and right place for us to be. How are we supporting those young people to get the support they need, but also to get the work they need so they can live fulfilling lives? And
when you refer to the ADP, of course, you're referring to the Adult Disability Payment, which is the kind of equivalent of PIP up here in Scotland. Shirley-Ann.
Well, let's be very clear. We are not making the changes up here that the Labour government are wanting to do. So what Anas is talking about is a review to make sure that the system is fit for purpose as it is just now, which is based on fairness, dignity and respect. And what you couldn't probably spot from the way Anas answered that is he actually supports the UK Labour government policies. And those are policies that by their... No, you've very clearly in the past said
and so do you. That's why you're reviewing the criteria.
No, but again, reform, as pointed out, it just means cuts. It's not very well hidden terminology. And thank you, Grayon Wannabe, for resubscribing. Much love. Are you there?
Yep.
Hello.
No,
of ADP?
We're not.
I've got to check, because the tech is a bitch, you know?
It was, yeah.
You can try and make this up as you go along, but you have for months talked about your support for Keir Starmer on this issue. And Labour's own policies, which Anas in the past has defended, has meant that 250,000 people will get put into poverty. 50,000 children.
Actually, that's a point then. If PIP only affects England and Wales, do they go into the England and Wales cohort for voting then? Because they've sort of the Midlothian question, as it was referred to, where Scottish MPs vote on English laws. Haven't they gotten rid of that partially at least? I think, but I don't know.
I mean, I just think that on the premise of this, right, it's so fucking monstrous. It's so depraved.
Yeah.
You know, 50,000 kids being pushed into poverty needlessly just so that Rachel Reeves can stick to our fiscal rules. Like, yeah, there's a moral imperative that the SNP must go. We must protect the citizens of England and Wales from their own government.
Oh yeah, if they're allowed to vote on this, yeah, absolutely. But I was just sort of wondering aloud more than anything as to
absolutely.
The constitutional problems with it, you know.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting to see. Because remember, how much the Labour government spends on welfare affects the Barnett formula. So
Yes.
it's not like there's no effect, right? They would have
Yeah.
to, have their own kind of finagling of the numbers to be able to have the extra welfare support that they would want to do, because, Scotland is the place where disabled people flee to when the government in Westminster wants to democide them. Because that happened. That's literally what happened in 2017, right?
Yeah.
In the run-up to that election, where people were saying, no, look, the only part of this country that actually treats the disabled with dignity is the Scottish National Party, and people are fleeing England for their fucking lives.
And then, obviously, that then affects both, A, the outgoings of the Scottish government, and B, the statistics, like you mentioned there about 1 in 6 and 1 in 8 and all the rest of it. Well, yeah, if all of the sick English people have to leave and go to Scotland, or the sick Welsh people, that's going to make their numbers look worse and yours look better. Not because you've done something good, but because you've done something truly reprehensible.
Exactly.
Labour government pushing 50,000 children into poverty. And that's why we've taken the decision not to do this in Scotland, because let's be very clear, this has nothing to do with helping people into work, because adult disability payment, or PIP as it is in the rest of the UK, is a benefit that's there to ensure that the additional costs you have from being disabled or having a long-term condition are assisted with. That's what it's about. And actually, what the disabled people's organisations say is if you cut that, you're going to hamper people from getting to work. So the irony is we're going to have a Labour government cutting money from disabled people, and what will happen? They'll struggle more to get into work. The pressure will build in our NHS.
So
the pressure will build in social care. This will not deliver
Okay.
£5 billion worth of savings.
Let's talk
Even
about-
if Starmer...
Because it's the false economy of austerity.
Every time.
You just cut it from that one budget, and then the NHS has to pick up the slack.
Yep.
Or social care, or the police, or the prisons, or whatever. Yeah.
With
Your
Annecy's
policies.
support, goes ahead with
Shelley,
that.
let's talk about your policies. So the welfare bill is increasing south of the border. It's also increasing here.
It is.
Are you happy to see that? Or are there reforms that you would like to make, and would you like to cut the welfare bill too?
But this is the thing. It's not a matter of being happy or unhappy about it. It rises because people get sick. It's not. I'm unhappy about it in the extent that people are ill. I'd prefer that nobody was ill. That would be fucking awesome. But that's not the world that we live in and never will live in. People get sick. They need to be protected. It's very fucking simple.
Exactly. Like this is a reaction to reality. I'm like, well, we don't want to have to take money away from people, so we won't, But
Yeah.
if we could have a situation where we didn't have to do that because more people were well enough to work, then that would be fantastic. But that would rely on having a government in Westminster that gives a shit about the citizens of its own country, right? That a government that would actually prioritise the well-being of people rather than giving tax cuts to pricks. Like, it's not difficult.
And again, it's the false economy of austerity. By not investing in the NHS, all you've done is made more sick people, and so you now have to pay out more PIP. You haven't actually saved anything. If you look at austerity, it killed 300 and God knows how many thousand people, and it saved nothing.
Yep.
It just made, 15 people richer than fucking Allah. Praise be upon him.
Well, what we've said up in Scotland all along is you have to have a robust social security system, but it is an important safety net for people.
Okay, but that's not answering the question. Would you like to see reforms and cuts to the size of the welfare bill here in Scotland?
Well, with respect to it is
I
answering
didn't hear
that
an
question
answer.
because we have to have a system that supports people who need it. So
Exactly.
I will not support cuts if it takes away from the vulnerable. I
So
will
you're
not
happy to see
support
the
cuts.
bill increase?
I am happy that we have a government that has the backs of
Well, you noticed that there was two parts to the question that the person asked about increases in military spending and decreases in benefits, right? And so far we've just talked about that. We haven't talked about the 80 billion going into the black pit that is the DoD.
Yeah, but have you thought about what the BAE Systems shareholders would think if we started taking away their free money?
True.
I hate this. I pay a little higher taxes so my mum
disabled
gets her
people,
prescription,
unlike
etc.
Labour, in that we will
There
not
is a
walk away from them
society
up to
Just to be
Well,
clear,
well,
as the
tax
welfare bill is increasing in Scotland, you're happy with that?
Well, we know that we have responsibilities as a government to meet that budget.
I'll
So
take that
I'm
as a
happy
yes.
with the fact that we are supporting people, yes.
Okay, that's a yes. All right. Man here in
Listen,
this
oh my god,
dark
fucking
shirt.
hell! Like Fiona Bruce just like harangue and go, "Oh, what's your fiscal responsibility about helping poor people?" Fuck off, Fiona.
Like, so, what are you supposed to? What is she supposed to say to you that would be sufficient for you, Fiona? Yes, I'd like to see that come down, regardless of how many ill people there are.
Yeah,
Like
it's crazy.
it's fucking monstrous. Yeah, the bill gets higher if there are more sick people. Let's make less sick people then, I guess. Let's treat people and make them not as sick.
Exactly, that is the correct answer. There is that I would love to see it go down, but not because we're cutting the support, but because the support that we have given is making people better.
It's unnecessary. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, that's the reality, right? If you want the welfare bill to go down, you're going to have to increase support in other areas. There's this delusion, there's this fucking conservative delusion that both when it comes to unemployment, when it comes to welfare, you can just throw people to the lions and then they will just get better or they will get into work. And it's just never been the case. Both of these things are a failure of statecraft, they're a failure of policy, right? Trying to blame the sick and the unemployed for the fact they're sick and unemployed has never, ever, 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 ever in the history of the world worked at fixing those problems. The only way you fix those problems is through state policy. And the governments have just continually decided that the government's role isn't to help people anymore.
Yep, basically. That is the one opinion of Westminster. The government is just here to make rich people rich and the poor can just shut up.
Exactly.
Thank you, Sozzled Snake. I quite agree. Much love to you, friend. And thank you, Kieran, as well. Much love. Sorry. So someone sent me a link. The Scottish, the SNP member of, well, it's not a member of Parliament, member of the Scottish Parliament. SNP government faces reputational damage over refusal to ban men from women's toilets despite Supreme Court ruling. Scottish Government's Social Justice Secretary Shirley Ann Somerville was told that she risks legal, financial and reputational damage by refusing to implement single-sex facilities guidance. So she's like pro-trans then?
Yeah, so she is the one who's being told that there's going to be reputational damage if you keep being nice to trans people.
Exactly. So she's refusing to do the transphobic thing. Cool. Yeah, good.
That's good.
Awesome. She seems like a nice person. So she wants to take care of the sick. She's pro-trans. Okay, I'm on board. Yeah.
I mean, it's just again, it's just the SNP are a liberal party. Let's be real; these people are
yeah. Oh, go, absolutely. Yeah.
They are very soft left liberal types, right? And what they are showing you is the basic level of what any party that wants to purport to be left of centre should be doing, right? Yeah. This is not. This shouldn't be this shouldn't be special.
Not even just left of centre what they should be doing. What any grown adult should be able to do, and just stand for something. You have a basic principle. The welfare system is there to help people who need it, not be like cajoled for the will of getting the numbers down or some shit. Like, it's there to help people, and trans people can go for a piss. Like, exactly. It's look, just having the backbone to say something as simple as that. That was what was really nice about Mamdani in New York. Just standing on principle. Yeah, if Netanyahu turns up, I'll arrest the cunt. It's good to see. It's good to see a law and order liberal.
And that's the thing, it's like, this is basic stuff. This shouldn't be special.
No,
I shouldn't have to say I want to move to Scotland so that I can vote for the only party that represents those values. Obviously the Green Party is now a more kind of a strong electoral force, so I have that option now. But there was a time before the Greens became a really big force. I was just like, literally, please can I move to Scotland so I can vote for the only moderately left-wing party who has like basic humanity. Like, how, like, that shouldn't be a thing. Yeah. Like, where their kind of basic kind of liberal adherence to, not despising their own voters, right?
That's how far the Overton window has gone. That's like a radical extreme view of like, yeah, actually, no, I'm happy for us to pay to, like, take care of sick people. Yeah, that's like, I think if you can't wash below the waist, we shouldn't like force you onto the production line like a fucking robot. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's not that crazy. But in the modern world, in the Osbornian fucking nightmare in which we find ourselves, apparently that is like communism or something.
Yeah, like, that's the thing, is that even though, actually, like, I think that a lot's been said that's unfair. and I can't believe and say a lot of someone said it's unfair about Rachel Reeves' broader spending envelope, right? Like she did raise taxes.
Oh, here we
she
go.
did-
She's been to America. You can fucking tell. Jesus Christ.
she said she did raise taxes. She did increase spending like a small amount. She did change the fiscal rules so that she'd do more borrowing. These are fine. Like I'm not going to shout about how terrible it is that she's spending money. It's good that that's happening, you know. But even outside of that, the level of penny pinching, the narratives, and the way they're trying to sell their fiscal competence to the public is just reheated Osborneism, right?
Yeah.
George Osborne is the progenitor of all discussion of fiscal policy in this country. To the point at which is that even the Keynesianism that Rachel Reeves is doing, she has to lie about, right?
Yeah.
They don't talk about, they don't say, we have borrowed loads of money and we're spending this money on council houses, right? Which is the thing they're doing. They're not building many, it's not a huge amount, but it's something. And they can't talk about it, and they refuse to talk about it, because then they would have to get into the weeds of discussing why borrowing is actually a good thing, and they've accepted that it's not.
Yeah.
They have to do it by stealth, because they can't, as you say, do what a Mamdani would do, and go, I am doing this thing because I believe in it, and it is good.
Yeah.
It's like, but why is this beyond the realm of possibility of these people?
Absolutely mad. Thank you, Rachel, who says, why is Scotland so based? Good question. Partly that its nationalism isn't... There's two broad strands of nationalism. There's not empirical, post-colonial nationalism, which is about liberation. So Gandhi's not a great example, but a liberation type of thing, right? Lots of the kind of African nationalist leaders were that, and Scotland has a bit of that. In the same with Wales, right? Because they're essentially being oppressed by London. Not necessarily to the same extent that India and those African countries were, but like there's the same sort of dynamic, just a bit softer. Less firing on crowds of innocent people. Although Northern Ireland aside, let's not mention that. And more kind of economic shit.
I think.
So there's that.
Yeah.
But also just because. Poverty is a much bigger issue north of the border, again because of the economic fuckery of Westminster, and generally poorer people do tend to be more left-wing.
What's interesting as well, I think, is that Scotland's gone through a very similar thing that the north of England has, by the massive divestment that the Thatcher regime introduced, the deindustrialisation that killed communities, right? And whilst the north of England has had to rely on continually supporting the Labour Party that hates them and wants them dead. Yeah. Outside of 4 years.
And not just that, but is embarrassed to have to even pander to them on the odd occasion they do.
Exactly. Yeah, they treat them like a bad smell, and that they, and also on top of this, that they feel like they are owed the votes of too. But they haven't really properly supported them, but they've kind of been forced into supporting them because otherwise you get the Tories, right? And Scotland's gone through that thing, but they have an extra dimension to politics, which has been the SNP, right? The fact that there is this, well, we don't just oppose Westminster because they don't care about the North. They don't care about Scotland because we are Scottish. We are from Scotland, right? That unifying, that flag to unify around specifically has allowed them to create their own kind of politics, which is distinct from Labourism, which is distinct from the abandonment of post-industrial communities that was created by the Labour Party. So the tension that exists between progressives and Labour in the North, which then has been manifested in anti-progressive politics since Labour has failed, never manifested in Scotland. They've always had the SNP to rely on.
Indeed, to the point where their Overton window is so much further to the left that even their Tory party, like they've previously had like lesbians with kids via artificial insemination type dealios as their leaders, which would never ever happen in the English Tory party in a million years.
I quite like Ruth Davidson. I don't think
on a personal level, she's fine, but politics stink. But she seemed like a nice enough person. Yeah,
literally, she did. Like if we're looking at the kind of the evil figure from Andrew Bowie, there, like Ruth Davidson in comparison,
or Ross, the current guy. Like, oh my
Douglas
God.
Ross.
Oh my word! What an awful wanker.
Like really, they really are the kind of the detritus that's left over of kind of the Johnsonian remake of the Tories, right?
So I had a lot of friends, and I know a lot of people who voted for Labour at the last general election because they wanted change. They didn't want more of the Conservatives. They thought that by voting Labour, they'd have different...
But thankfully we got the Tories out, so it's all good. Yay!
It's nice, isn't it? The quiet.
It's nice, isn't it? All of the drone strikes.
All of the democide.
Yeah.
It's nice, isn't it? The quiet of all of the disabled people who've perished.
Well, I mean, inevitably, when World War III glasses the entire globe, it will be very fucking quiet. And Otto will have been proven correct. Like the soothsayer we all knew him to be.
Policies. However, now they're coming to regret that decision because they wanted more support for those who are vulnerable in our society, and now Labour are penalising them more than anything. They wanted less money going towards defence and more money going towards the NHS, and Labour has not done that. So I don't know how any Labour
Ironically,
MP
a
can
bad
turn around.
example, because they actually have the NHS is one of the few things they have invested in. So bad example, but I know the point you're making, and yeah, fair general criticism.
The next general election and say that a vote for them is a vote for change.
Well, it's not true, sir, to the specifics of what you said. There's £5.2 billion of additional money to go into Scotland's public services, a large chunk of that for the National Health Service. We've had the record increase in the living wage, the largest increase in the living wage, a pay rise for over 200,000 Scots. We have the New Deal for working people that's
Okay, but
finally
Anna, the
ended
gist of what you're
zero-hour
saying, which is
contracts,
cutting
all of which
welfare
would not be
benefits.
possible
Hang on, in
if we
fairness,
still had the Tories in
the
power.
gist of what you're saying, which is cutting welfare benefits and spending more on defence, that is incontrovertibly a Labour policy. Yes, Manny in the tartan cap.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to own that shit, lad. You
Yeah,
might not
exactly.
like it, especially because in Scotland it's not going to be very popular, but you signed up for this. You got in bed with it, so fuck you. Read my lips. All of the austerity ever. Yeah, thank you, James, who says Douglas Ross is a linesman, worst of the worst. Indeed, yeah, a fucking football linesman, which is like the ultimate briefcase wanker. Like, at least the referee's like the Johnny on the spot who makes decisions. The linesman has to just put his flag up like a little cock and hope he gets called.
Imagine being the kid at school who was like, "Oh, we're playing football. I'll be the linesman." I'm like, no one likes that kid.
Put that kid in a cage. Just they need to be excised from polite society.
Well, public spending on in social security is actually going up. Yeah, if you want.
Okay, so reducing the rate at which it's going up. Yes, you're right. Yes, Manny in the tartan cap.
Well, you went on about a...
Oh, come on now. You can't be wearing a tartan flat cap. Are you going to break out the fucking iron brew and the shortbread as well? Stop playing the bagpipes, mate. Come on. Yeah, we get it. We get it.
Hey, Zacap, thank you for the raid of 58. welcome, Zacap viewers. You've come in at the most opportune moment to see the most Scottish man you've ever seen in your fucking life.
Yeah.
Wearing a tartan flat cap. I'm back from my holiday over in Yankland, and I'm here with Kevin Logan, socialist from the UK, and we're having a great time.
Oi,
Everyone go
Zacap.
Give us both a follow, and everyone in my chat and in Kev's chat, go and follow Zacap, based Australian far left political content.
Exactly.
Who we stand.
But then when the Ashes is on, you have to unfollow them, and then you can follow them afterwards after we lose 5-0.
I didn't check. How well are they doing against the West Indies? It wasn't going well last time I checked.
I checked midstream, and it was for Dave 1 they were bowled out for 180, and then the West Indies posted 190. So a lead of 10, and then Australia were like 35 without loss, although one of the openers had been dropped twice.
Oh, good. Never change West Indies. Well, they're 92 for 4 now.
Oh, well, I mean, that's essentially 82 for 4. You know what, the Windies are well in it. Let's go.
It's true.
Go.
I mean, imagine being out-batted by fucking a bunch of people who've strolled out of, like, the University Cricket Club.
Basically, yeah. I mean, let's be honest. The West Indies have some outstanding players who play 50 and 20 over cricket.
It's true.
The Test match team is shit.
It's true. I think it's like the bowlers that they have for Test matches. They're great.
Because they can still produce people who bowl 100 miles an hour. Yeah,
Exactly. Because they're good in 20, 50 over all Test matches.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, clubbing the ball every so often is not good enough in the red ball Duke's ball format on the very fast West Indian pitches against Pat Cummins.
True. But England are fucked, by the way. When we go to Australia, look, we can win at home, but I don't fancy that batting lineup or the bowling lineup. Frankly, I think Australia are going to fucking murder us. But anyway, so yeah, you have to unfollow all Australians. It is your patriotic duty, and then straight afterwards you can follow them again. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
the reform and everything like that, but first of all, you took away the heating from the pensioners. Now you're taking away money from people that are disabled and not able to work. I do agree that if people are able to work, they should work. I've not got a problem with that. But you're taking away from the vulnerable before anybody else. I'm sure you could find money from millionaires and everything like that before you hit the people that are on welfare. That's my opinion.
Dave?
Yeah. A good point from Wee Jock Poopong McPlop there. To you, a Blackadder reference.
And one of my chatters.
Yeah, well, indeed, yeah.
Absolutely.
The most Scottish man ever with the most based answer ever.
I mean, and he's literally 100% correct. No, not a single word of a lie was uttered by that man. It's so true. They're literally going straight after the vulnerable. Although I would point out that, again, as has been misinformed by the Labour representatives every time this situation comes up, that PIP is not a welfare payment that has a work requirement.
Yeah,
right?
it's not an in-work benefit, yeah.
Well, exactly. Like, there is a proportion, 25% or so, of PIP claimants who are in work.
Yep.
And they need that to keep working.
Yeah, literally, there are people who've said that if you take that away from them, it will make them more likely to work. It will literally make it impossible because they invest that extra amount of money they get into allowing them the facilities necessary to go out and work because it helps with their disability. So if you don't do that, it means they can't, and you're just basically making them fucking housebound.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. As Solios rightly pointed out, that actually, no, it's just pocket money.
Well, exactly, yeah, you use pocket money, yeah. Could you live on that? Well, no, I mean, I've got a mortgage. I couldn't possibly live on that. Fucking hell.
And of course, as the Conservatives want the welfare cuts to go further.
Well, this is a really bad way of reforming the welfare system. Let's be absolutely clear. It's not going to deliver the savings.
Just so we're clear.
No, well, what we'd like to see is a properly thought-through plan from principle that will reduce the size of the welfare bill, get more people into work, and won't result in more taxes. This bill does not deliver this. And can I just say, it's astonishing, frankly, to be less than a year in to this new government, to see a Prime Minister and a Chancellor with so little authority. You've got over 120 MPs, including over 10 Scottish.
Incredible,
you know. It is genuinely a good point, but yeah, it's, I mean, not good, but it's a perfectly reasonable point. But the embarrassing thing of the Tory being able to rinse you, because you've done so poorly.
You know, on every single possible metric, it is really funny that he's been rightly condemned by, I say condemned because Fiona doesn't do that, she's a moderator, right? But she's been pointing out, well, no, you guys want to murder more disabled people. And he goes, yes, this bill does not go far enough in murdering the disabled. We should be killing more of them. We should be lining them up and shooting them, throw them into the wood chipper. That would save loads of money for the Treasury and be able to cut taxes, right? Their bill doesn't do that, therefore it's a disgrace. And also, they're not evil enough to be able to get their backbenchers to agree to the wood chipper plan. Very weak, Mr. Starmer, that the wood chippers aren't coming out yet, are they? It's like, you're not selling yourself as a politically, I don't know, thoughtful or moral person here, Mr. Harry?
No, little bit having it both ways. Well, I mean, the Tories were doing that with freezing Granny, right? Oh, this is outrageous. How can you do this? Think of the poorest in society. And you're like, motherfucker, you just got done doing the biggest democide in our country's history. Fucking behave yourself. Thank you, James Holmes, with 5 gifted memberships. And also, Derek, I have never in my life heard cricket be discussed except here. Well, you're very welcome, and you can become a member as a thanks for us enlightening you to the greatest sport in the history of mankind.
Willing to risk having the whip taken away from them, willing to embarrass the leader, openly
Well, there's no way they can have the whip removed from them, surely, because there's too many of them. You'd literally lose your majority.
Exactly. Like they realise they have strength in numbers on this one. And the thing as well is that, again, it's just, Andrew Bow is such a fucking sick, demented, twisted fucker that he's literally out here going, well, they should just fire half the party so that they can murder the disabled.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's what they want. The Tories are chomping at the bit to help the Labour Party do this, you know? Yeah. But they want them to go even further, basically. Yeah, no, it's fucking absolutely ridiculous shit. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Tories are evil. Like they're just evil.
Literally, yes, literally.
I wish they was. I could see into these people's minds' eye, but no, I can't. I can't empathise. They're just ontologically evil. There is nothing that we could do in response that would be unjustified.
Oh, thank you, Derek Holland. I was only joking. That was the person I said you should follow me as thanks for telling you about cricket, and they did. Okay. I mean, much love to you. Have you got 5 days to spare? I'll show you the world, friend.
Come to Edgbaston. You can meet me next week.
Yes. Actually, if I can pick up a ticket, I might pop down. I don't know. We probably won't be sat next to each other. Well, it won't be full, will it? We'll find something.
We booked tickets pretty late on, and I don't know if the stand might not be full. I mean, what we can do if you can't be bothered buying tickets, we can just go to the pub after.
Yeah, that could also work.
Although I will be with my dad, so you'll be able to meet my dad.
Well, do you say that like it's a bad thing? Is he a monster?
No, he's lovely.
Well then, it's fine. I've got no problem at all. Yeah.
There you go. Well, we should definitely. Even if you don't come to the group, we should definitely go to the pub afterwards. Because who doesn't love a good pub lunch?
Well, it won't be lunch, will it? It'll be
Pub
fucking
dinner.
7 o'clock.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It feels weird calling it a pub dinner.
Yeah, true. Especially when you'll get none of this fucking 6-chip lattice. Telling you. Even the fanciest place in Moseley will not serve you a chip lattice.
About leadership change. It took us 6 years to get to the stage that we were speculating openly about leadership changes in the Conservative government. So it's quite incredible, and it's because of the decisions that Labour have made up to this point, an inability to hold the party together, taking decisions out of expediency rather than principle.
They are literally having like leadership talks of ousting Kemi Badenoch this week.
Yeah. They literally had the fucking. I mean, it's such a silly thing, really. But their own backbenchers going, don't attack Keir Starmer for not being at PMQs. He was right to be in the Netherlands, which is like true. Not only is Kemi Badenoch wrong, but our own backbenchers are going, you're a prick, mate, in the Commons, like out loud to everyone. Look, no one respects her, no one likes her.
No, exactly. Like they are openly talk about dethroning her because
because the fucking polling, I haven't seen them get over 50 seats in any poll for months now.
Literally, the MRP poll, right? So it's not some kind of 1,000-person poll that says very little, right? A proper MRP poll, structured like thing that's supposed to give us a really wide idea of where people win seats and where they won't, has like even lower.
Yeah.
Than like the regular polls would have put them in terms of seat numbers.
Ipsos had them down at 15. 15 seats. That's nothing. You can fit in a minibus. You're not a political party that's like going anywhere. Like you're dead. It's over. That's the end of the Conservative Party.
Yeah, well done. 200 years later, thanks for all the fish.
Yeah, yeah. Although there is a delightful, not irony, but like a kind of moment of like, the Conservative Party being so racist for so long, and it's not really Kemi Badenoch's fault because like the seeds for this were sown by the Thatcher basically, but having a black woman of Nigerian stock come in and take down the most successful political party in British history there's something quite nice about that. I think, look, it's an extra dig because like Enoch Powell would be like, I fucking told you! What did I say? So, Agent Badenoch, excellent work. Doing God's work.
Like Agent Trust killing their economic credibility, Kemi Badenoch killing their social credibility. It's Jover.
And Agent Trust killing something else as well. We won't go into it.
We stand.
Decisions on the economy that's seen growth halved, that's seen companies close up shop, that have seen the national insurance increase, the family farm tax, all of which has had a huge
family farm.
Hey, guys.
Don't tax Jeremy Clarkson. Shut the fuck up.
Impact on economic growth and making spending commitments which on defence is necessary but which you have
there you go. On defence it's necessary, but on like poor people being able to live, fuck them.
Literally, they're just so open about the fact that they're really happy to just kill people with all of their public spending choices.
Enjoy the dustbin of history, lads.
Let's go.
You've earned your one-way trip.
Like even Nigel Farage, like an ardent Thatcherite, a man who is so rowing he praised the Liz Truss mini budget, is going, I guess we probably have to just say that welfare actually might be a good thing,
Yeah.
No clue of how you're going to
let's
make.
talk about
I'll
your
take no lectures on economic competence and principles from a Conservative Party that destroyed our country.
How long do they keep saying it? How long do they keep saying it?
Well, forever. Also, I do like the lefty journalists. Like, I can't even look at these dickheads.
But so much prefer. So they should. So they should never let them forget the Liz Truss moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Why would they?
Because it's been a gigantic lie for so long that the Tories have been the party of economic competence, because it's never been true.
No,
right? It's never been
true.
The
national debt was, literally minuscule, and then Thatcher happened.
Exactly. And then you look at
we fought 2 world wars. We built the original range of nuclear weapons. In the aftermath of that, we nationalised the NHS. We nationalised huge swathes of like transport and energy and water and blah blah blah. And at no point was it ever 10% of what the overall national debt was in Margaret Thatcher's first term. And it just ballooned and has continued to balloon ever since.
Exactly. And you look at things like the Barber boom, you look at austerity, you look at Liz Truss, you look at everything, right? You look at Black Wednesday. Like, every single fucking nightmare scenario has been created by piss-poor Conservative management of the economy.
Yep.
The fact that it took Liz Truss, who arguably is the least egregious out of all of them because it was so short-lived, be the one who finally puts the nail in the coffin because it just upset homeowners rather than poor people, is that really bites. Yeah. That really bites that we're not allowed to think that the Barber boom and Black Wednesday and austerity and Thatcherism were all bad. It's only Liz Truss was bad because she was a bit silly.
Yeah. By the way, Cather, I wasn't mentioning 2 world wars like that was a good thing, that was like a wise amount of money to spend. I was just saying it was very expensive, and even then we were able to afford it because we used to want to tax rich people and corporations in order to pay for the existence of the nation. And now it's like, we can't do that. No. Can't afford anything. Let's cut everything back. We're not going to spend a penny, but also still somehow be in massive amounts of debt and be paying huge amounts of tax. Ridiculous. The worst of both worlds. Wonderful.
Julie Baydock's made it clear she would support the government's reforms with certain caveats, such as no future tax rises. But it has also been clear that the Conservatives want to cut welfare and go further than Labour. So who would you like to not be getting money that's getting money at present?
Well, we need to see more people who are receiving benefit right now encouraged to get back into the workplace. I think we all acknowledge that the burgeoning size of the bill for welfare in this country is far too large. And but
you've just said spending 80 billion on defence is good. So, I'm sorry, why is the burgeoning defence thing, which is just an endless money pit, we throw fucking trillions into this, and it's just, what have we gotten for it? 1 million dead Iraqis? A nation being fucking seen as an evil little lapdog? Brilliant. And what are they supposedly defending? A nation where the disabled are going to start starving to death? I don't think that's a nation worth defending.
Literally, that's the worst part of all of this, right? Is that I could get, if there was some genuine existential threat, right? Sure, I don't like giving money to arms firms, but in certain times, these things are necessary, right? It was necessary in World War II, which is the last time we were actually threatened. And you look at other countries on Eastern Europe, it's necessary for them to, and they have been spending a lot on defence for a very long time, right? But these things have a caveat of, is the shit you're paying the money for in the defence of something that's worth fucking defending? And I look around at the state of this country, and the answer to that question is no. Yeah. The answer to that question is no. Yeah. No, it's not worth defending, right? Because we're not even asking the people who own the shit in this country to foot the fucking bill to defend it, right? Yeah. Working people who own nothing, who own fuck all in this country, having to pay money out of their taxes to fund defence spending to defend assets owned by super rich people who pay no fucking tax.
And this conversation is taking place, ironically, during the wedding of Jeff Bezos. Now, you may be saying to yourself, Kev, what's that got to do with anything? Jeff Bezos is paying, I think something in the region of £350 million currently to essentially rent out Venice. You think I'm being silly? He's renting out a significant chunk of the centre of the old town of Venice for his private gathering, which, by the way, Iran, if you're listening, no, I'm only joking. But no,
I'd like to point out to the IDF that there happens to be a Hamas command and control centre under Jeff Bezos' house. I do apologise.
What is a canal but a tunnel that's been filled in with water? And you think
exactly.
about it.
Exactly. Like I'm sorry. Like it's just I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but unfortunately, Jeff Bezos is being used by Hamas as a human shield.
He is. He's Hamas operative, if you've ever seen one. Did you know he's got a copy of Mein Kampf in Arabic by his bedside? Definitely true. Anyway, the point is, he's spending this huge amount of money to rent out Venice and do his fucking stupid rich guy twattery to get married again, right? And yet pays no tax in Italy and pays no fucking tax in Britain. Two countries who have supposedly armed forces that defend his and capital's interests. Fucking pay for it then, you prick.
Yeah, literally. Every single day, I just have more and more sympathy with the fact that Lenin just shot everybody. Honestly. You listen to these rich people. Just going like, well, I'm not paying tax. I'm not contributing to the society that allowed me to get fabulous wealthy. I'll just move to Dubai. And I'm just like, society can't survive these people. It just can't.
But the problem is, we won't be able to Romanov anyone because those chubby fingers of Charles, he can just deflect bullets. You're not going to get through those fucking sausage fingers. Are you joking? It's like a speed bump. Yeah, amazing. Anyway.
It's just we're in this impossible situation where we've sold the world to rich people and they're not giving it back. And
yeah.
If as long as there is one country out there that just goes, well, we refuse to make these people pay for it, they'll just all move. They'll all live there in their fucking diamond dystopia.
I've got no problem. Right, this is my problem, right? My sort of solution. Again, it takes backbone. It takes a pair of fucking balls to actually implement this shit. Okay, you want to have all of your shit in the Cayman Islands, fine. If you want to do business here, if you want your business, Amazon, let's say Jeff Bezos or Tesla or SpaceX or whoever, right? If you want to operate inside these fucking shores, you pay your tax. And if not, you can fuck off.
Literally, exactly. We'll close you down. The fucking jackboot will come in and we'll shutter every single part of your operation.
Exactly. Well, they
your URL.
They can do it when it comes to a steel plant owned by the Chinese. They can send operatives to go and barricade the fucking place when it suits them. So we say, okay, you don't want to pay your tax here, you don't fucking operate here.
Exactly.
But, that would take some fucking balls. And also, let's be honest, the leader that tried it would drink polonium accidentally very soon, I'm sure.
They get Litvinenko'd.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, you can't blow up the ministerial jags because they are bomb-proof. So they would have to find a different way on this particular occasion.
Early on to suggest that it's not the case in Scotland is absurd. The welfare bill in Scotland is set to balloon to over £7 billion, which for a country of 5 million...
But I'm proud we support people. I'm proud
we support
there
people.
To support
we
people.
support
Can you
people.
support the 10,000 children that are homeless right now in your government's watch when you're in charge of housing policy? What about those children that are living in poverty? Can you support the children that are waiting on NHS waiting lists,
I'll support
not able to get the mental health treatment they need because of your disaster and stewardship of the NHS? And can you also deal with those communities that are blighted by crime?
Wait. Rewind, mate. The NHS in Scotland has a better record than that in England. The SNP are better at managing the NHS than the fucking Labour government in Westminster are. They say it was a shambles here for you. No, it's better. The stats are better.
Unfortunately, that's the one area that the Welsh Labour government have done not so well at, unfortunately.
No.
Whereas they have generally tended to be a lot better, but for some reason the NHS isn't quite functioning brilliantly in Wales. But I'm sure, ultimately they've had fucking budget cuts and all sorts as well, so,
and can't get a police officer because of your destruction of the criminal justice system. No, it's not.
Yes.
This is a government that's lost its way and is out of time, and that's why we'll be booted out of office next year.
No, it won't. Okay. You can continue believing that, Anas.
Yeah, that won't happen, Anas.
Yeah. You know who's really going to be booted out of office? Not they're in office. The fucking Labour Party are going to get fucking eviscerated in the Holyrood elections.
Yeah.
They're going to lose to fucking Reform.
Yeah. Well, at Westminster, they're looking like they'll be lucky to hold on to 3 seats.
Yeah, it's going to be a fucking bloodbath.
Yeah. But Keir Starmer is being absolutely surgical, precise,
forensic.
Yeah, forensic in his analysis. He can read the room, honest.
Well, look, I think we're starting to realise why people get so fed up with politics, because we're only 10 minutes in and we're already punching each other to bits. Reform does...
I'm sorry, you're a Reform Party MP. Fucking Rupert Lowe spent the last week... Not Rupert Lowe, sorry. Richard Tice spent the last week going on about how everyone in Parliament is a baby murderer. Because they voted for the decriminalisation or whatever of abortion.
When the irony, of course, is that most people in Parliament are baby murderers because they keep selling weapons to Israel.
Well, exactly, yeah, but this is white babies, so they matter.
It's true.
Which, by the way, for everyone outside who doesn't know about that, they decriminalised it so that it doesn't make it legal to kill babies as they're crowning or something. It means that the mother doesn't face legal prosecution. It would be the medical practitioners if they go over the set amount of things. So basically, you don't lead to the ridiculous situation you had where that woman got locked up and everyone was like, what are you locking her up for? It's fucking madness. Anyway, but yeah, according to the Reform Party, baby murderers. But heaven forbid we do divisive politics, eh, mate?
Back welfare reforms. Well, reform does back having the welfare reforms. We have to look at this properly. We do have a ballooning system and we do have a ballooning budget that has to be looked at. That is absolutely accurate. What we can't do is make it in the most vulnerable people, so people who are disabled. That's why Labour MPs are up in arms about this. It has to have proper consultation rather than being rushed through. Now, I grew up in poverty in the East End of Glasgow. I've seen firsthand what poverty is like. I don't just lecture people about it, I've seen it firsthand. And I know the best route out of poverty is through work. That's why Reform's whole process is to try and make sure the first tax cut we want to break... Is
no, the best way out of poverty is to have been born not poor in the first place.
I mean, that's the frustrating thing, is that, sure, I would like there to be more people to have access to work. I'd like that to be a thing that happens, and everything that any government can do to facilitate that, fine. Happy with these things, you know? But if your sole goal is to reduce poverty, there's a really easy solution. You chuck money at the problem. It's super simple, right? Kemi Badenoch was quoted a couple of years back saying, we can't spend our way out of poverty. I'm like, you absolutely 100% can, right?
Yeah.
Just give people free money. It's literally... Cash payments are the best way of reducing poverty. And the fact that we have a less generous welfare state that gives smaller cash payments than a bunch of other countries on the continent do, who have better results on these things, such as levels of poverty and levels of welfare spending, so they have lower welfare states, which have better outcomes than we do, whilst being more generous, shows you that this idea, it shows that this idea that somehow the only method that you can solve this problem with is just by facilitating the way back into work. It's bollocks.
Yeah.
It's bollocks.
Now, to be fair to the gentleman, he clearly has not been engaging in divisive politics because he seemingly hasn't been engaging in politics at all. The Glasgow councillor has been criticised for not actively taking part in council business. Thomas Kerr defected from the Conservatives to Reform earlier this year. At a meeting of the full council today, Green councillor John Molyneux took an opportunity to highlight the councillor's record since he made the switch. Kerr defended his record, blah, blah, blah. Molyneux raised a point of order in the meeting. It's been 6 months since Thomas Kerr defected to Reform, he added at the time. He hasn't raised a question, hasn't spoken in debate, or produced a single budget proposal. Yeah. So, he literally hasn't done anything since becoming a Reform councillor.
I mean, it's basically there's the Reform playbook. You either don't do anything, or you leave before you have time to do anything, right? Have you seen the council, is it Warwickshire, I think?
Yeah, 18. I mentioned this earlier, 18-year-old, yeah.
A recently elected council leader just stepped down. I'm assuming because they're bored. They realise.
No, to be fair, I think they're having health issues or something. Yeah.
Okay. That's more explainable.
But then don't make your deputy a fucking sperm. What are you doing?
Like, you've only just got out of embryogenesis.
Yeah.
That's not really the time to be losing entire councils.
I'm sorry, if you don't have to shave regularly, you can't hold positions of authority. That's just not fair.
I think it's reasonable, because there were some Reform councillors who were 19 who were in charge of like parts of the council. There's some level to which you can have it be delegated and you can have it be overseen by somebody. I think that's reasonable. Being the council leader at 18, though, that's ridiculous.
That's silly, yeah. That's very silly.
to bring the £20,000 tax-free allowance up to make sure that people are taking out a tax altogether. That helps people to be able to get money in their pocket, because if you want to fix welfare, you need to make sure that work pays. We need to incentivise people to get back into the workplace, and that's how you try and do it. You don't do it by just cutting.
Okay,
you need to have reforms, yes, but you need to encourage people back in.
I hate these people. You say, oh, well, we need to make work pay. And we both agree on this. We agree on this specific principle, right? Yet there are 4 motherfuckers in Westminster, all of them voted against the Employment Rights Bill.
Yep.
They disagreed with the increase in the minimum wage. All the things that are actually there, the very few good things that, what the one department that seems to be actually taking their brief seriously, which is Angela Rayner's, where they actually do, well, actually we're going to implement some policies that allow trade union bargaining, that allows for there to be a better wage remuneration for working people by increasing minimum wage and allowing them to be set not just by what the market dictates, right? Yeah. They actually try to implement some reforms to help work pay, and your motherfuckers voted against that shit.
Indeed. Also, y'all motherfuckers. Oh, God. She's one of them now. She's got her and her American ways. Oh. Thank you, James, for the super chat. Don't forget, you can be, if you're feeling generous, you can give money to us both in the form of bits and subs and subscriptions and super chats. They've written a delightful little fanfic. Kev goes full rat catcher mode, lures all the billionaires into a fluffy trap, and then stuff happens. Problem solved. Minecraft. Fair enough. I will leave that uncommented upon for legal reasons.
Well, let's talk about the reforms. I mean, there have been many who have been hugely sceptical about your tax plans and actually making the numbers work, as you know, not least the Institute for Fiscal Studies. But what I hear is you, Andrew, and you, Thomas, not you, Shirley Ann, saying we need to reform. Clearly, the welfare budget is too big. Much less keen to say who's not going to get the money. So if you want to cut the welfare bill, who are you going to take the money from?
Well, the point is you have a huge bloated system since COVID, particularly of young people who are now being stuck because of mental health.
No, look, as a fatty as well, don't say huge bloated. Just don't. It doesn't look good for either of us.
So what you need to do is you need to invest properly.
I think that man's chins need reform. Okay? We need to reform that system very significantly.
Health to make sure that you tackle those issues and encourage those people back into work. That's the whole point, is trying to come up with incentives to get people back into the workplace. Now, in Scotland, we're in St Andrews, which is a fantastic university town. But what's happened over the past 25 years of devolution is we have a system that is now so builded around academia rather than skills. I'd much rather we focused on skills.
Builded.
Builded. Builded. He made it a new word. But also, just like, I want to go back a couple of seconds ago to what he was saying there. It was just like, well, you need to fund mental health provision to get young people back to work and get their mental health problems solved. I'm like, and you're going to do that how? After cutting the NHS budget? Like, how is this going to work? Well, who's paying for this mental health?
Did you actually want to go back, or did?
No.
No, okay.
I was rhetorically going back, right? I'm like, if you want to deal with mental health problems by getting more treatment, great, brilliant. I'm all for it. Yet there's no plans for reform to do any of this.
Yeah.
Magic beans is how, literally.
Literally, yeah.
It comes to mental health and incentivising people
that's how you try and
to get into work. That's clearly going to cost money.
Yeah,
and you're talking about cutting costs.
No, I'm talking about welfare reforms. The point is this.
No, not cutting and not spending. A secret third thing.
Magic beans, literally.
Yeah.
This isn't about cuts. This is about reforming the system. That's where Labour's got.
It's such a shit shell game. No, we know what you mean. When you say reform, you mean cuts.
Literally.
That's literally why you're called Reform UK, because we know what you're all about, you pricks.
In such a mess. This is not about trying to cut. The reason that this became up is because it was in a spending review to cut rather than try to brand it as welfare reforms. It has to have a proper consultation properly with people who are struggling, and there has to be a real plan in place as to how this works long term.
We had Zia Youssef of your party come on this programme say welfare spending per capita will reduce significantly.
Oh, was that the other time that you've had a reform? I know, because they're on every week. Yeah.
Some people who are getting money now will not get money. That's clear.
Yeah.
And you want to cut the NHS's budget? You don't
well,
believe
hang on.
in
Let's do one thing at a time. Leslie.
Well, the Poverty Alliance say that, roughly speaking, spending on the welfare state has...
I thought the Tories and the Labour Party were the Poverty Alliance.
Well, they now have a tripartite poverty alliance.
Yeah, no, true. Whereas the Lib Dems want some poverty, but not all poverty.
I mean, Davey said it's terrible what's going to happen to carers because of these welfare cuts. I'm like, yeah, welfare cuts are bad, aren't they, Ed?
True, maybe. Well, that's how Keir Starmer can win over those Liberal Democrat votes. 6p bag tax.
There you go. Right.
They'll vote for it. They'll be straight on it then. Yeah.
Been fairly static, actually, at around 10% of GDP. So there's been ups and downs, but actually over the piece, it is not this sense that we're sitting with a kind of escalating time bomb of basically people who should be able to work and won't work. I don't know. There's been a 25% increase in the number of people committing suicide, dying of alcohol, of drugs, since COVID.
Yeah, but that's what they want. Ultimately, like, the really sick part of this whole policy, whether they would ever want to admit it or not, I suppose, is that ultimately they want them to die or kill themselves.
Yeah,
problem solved. Problem solved.
Like, the thing is, I don't think they want them to die or kill them. They just want the problem to go away, and this happens to be the method that is the most.
Well, exactly, yeah, and they know that's what's going to happen, and they're fine with it.
Yeah.
They probably don't think about it too much, because if they did, they'd probably off themselves. But like, they know that deep down that's what's going to happen. The assessments on this all show it, that any of these policies will increase the number of people committing suicide.
Yep.
And they do it anyway, so that blood is on their hands. Any member of Parliament that votes for this has the blood of those people on their hands.
Yep, 100%.
But since before COVID, so this is not like a snowflake generation. This is serious, serious mental health issues, which I think are also related to a dog-eat-dog adversarial society, where people are in precarious renting situations, precarious jobs. Everything's precarious that for my generation was not. So you put that all together and you get, if you're unfortunate enough to be on universal credit, £100 a week. I like to see people managing on this. So we've got, for sure, this all needs to be looked at again.
Whoa. The only reason I wouldn't manage on that is because I have a mortgage to pay.
True.
I mean, she is absolutely smashing this, though.
Yeah.
She's putting out all this... no word of a lie. Every single word, 100% true what she's saying here. Because that is absolutely right. The reason why people are miserable is because we have forgotten what the concept of society.
Yeah. When Thatcher said there was no such thing as society, it wasn't so much a statement of the reality they lived in, but a wish.
Yeah.
And she won.
Yeah, exactly. The goal is the method is economics. The goal is to change the soul, and she created a fucking soulless country, you know.
Yep.
And it's just, I mean, it's so nice to hear somebody who's from the older generation there. Like, obviously, I hear this from people in chat as well, but I don't hear this often in the media. Someone from the older generation go, "We fucking failed young people. We failed them. We've ruined the country for young people, and of course they hate us and the country and capitalism. Like we've shown them it's a waste of fucking time."
And the answer to this and the fight back from the socialists in Parliament is to sell young people out on the river again.
Yeah, making the moral case for socialism, though, Kev, right?
Yeah, like they're one big act of like kind of herd mentality. As soon as one or two step forward, they all go forward and go, "See, we're not voting for this." "Oh, what's that? You're just going to eviscerate the young disabled?" "Oh, that's fine then. Yeah, cool."
And again, because they think they just like every time they say, "Well, these people have nowhere else to go. These people will vote for us anyway. We don't have to fucking care."
Yeah, because they've learned nothing. Yeah.
And of course, they will not get. These people will not vote for them. We've already seen in the 18 to 24 bracket, the Greens are in second place, first amongst women in the 18 to 24 bracket, and that will reverberate throughout the rest of the generations if they realise that this government fucking hates them.
Well, did you see there was an amazing breakdown that Stats for Lefties did of the age cohorts and their voting intentions, or not age cohorts, but people without a job and people who are retired. Hang on, here we go. A fucking incredible look into the future from the Conservative point of view. Sorry, Election Maps UK. Voting intention among people with jobs: Labour 27%, Reform 24%, Lib Dem 16%, Tories only 15%, Greens 12%. Among the retired, 36% Reform, 28% Tory. So, over, 60%?
That's what's so funny about it. Remember in 2019, obviously, this landslide defeat for Labour. If only people who actually had jobs voted, Labour would have won a fucking landslide, right?
Yeah,
a giant landslide, right? Yeah. They won in every demographic of working age people up to £100,000 a year, right? It was only once you got to 100k or more that people started voting Tory more than Labour out of the working age demographics, right?
Yeah.
And say, oh, Labour have lost touch with the working class. What working class people who used to work and now have pensions that people of our generation can only fucking dream of, whilst also having houses that they own that people from our generation can only fucking dream of, right? I'm like, look, I get these people worked hard, they built their retirement, they were working mostly in industrial parts of the country, which they disagreed with a lot of the policy of deindustrialization. Sure, I get that they're angry with Labour, right? I get that they're angry with this kind of stuff, but they don't vote on economics anymore because they have a pretty cushy life as a person with a private pension from that era and also a house. In comparison to young people who have fucking none of these things. They literally have none of these things. And they sold this generation down the river again by voting for Boris Johnson.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, those who are retired, by and large, quite close to death. It's not a long-term strategy to only aim at those people.
And that's the thing that was coming.
They are literally a dying cohort.
There's another thing that was going through my mind today. I was walking down to the Novara studio in London. And
she's been to America and that there London.
And that there London, yeah. For Broken Dreams and Shattered Dreams Parkway. And I saw this gaggle of kids from the school near the area, just walking, being led by a teacher, and the most wonderfully diverse, like loads of people from all different backgrounds.
Did they start bullying you about your clean shirt?
Yeah, they're all getting on together. I'm just like, look, all of what we're seeing at the moment, this like boomer nostalgia bait politics of, well, you know, the country's dying. I don't recognize my country anymore. I want my country back, kind of stuff. You know, this kind of revolting kind of reactionary sentiment against multiculturalism. And I'm like, these people are not going to be politically powerful for much longer, right?
Yeah.
10 or 15 years time, the multi-faith, multi-ethnic coalition of voters is going to be the majority demographic in 15 years time, and we'll wonder why we put up such a fuss over the idea that maybe there are more kebab shops than there used to be, you know?
Yeah. So there's a barber that's opened. No.
Literally. So we're getting to the point now. I'm just like, well, why are we still pandering to this demographic that is not going to be relevant eventually?
Yeah, well, because they've got all of the money and they vote.
And all the houses. The houses all the matter, yeah. Literally. It's
and they're the ones that can afford to buy tickets to the Arsenal. Still, he's still taking tickets, even after he said he was definitely going to stop taking tickets.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
But in terms of the kind of benefits that Britain gives compared to other countries across Europe, we're still bumping along at the bottom.
We really are,
So this seems to me to be a completely unnecessary attack on people who have got no capacity to come back and argue about this. It's demeaning to end up being allocated points according to whether or not you can basically wash your undercarriage or not, because that's what it's coming down to. And I cannot believe that anybody who stood in any way as a socialist could possibly be looking at this as a viable solution to anything.
Damn fucking right.
I'm sorry, did someone order something from the base department? Because a massive package just arrived. Let's go. Oh.
I think this highlights a real concern, Mr Sarwar, that the Labour Party in Scotland have. Instead of spending time
It's a massive problem the Labour Party in Scotland have. You're a bunch of wankers.
You're just full of cunts.
Yeah. Have you considered not being evil? Have you thought about that as a policy, maybe?
Like in 18 years of SNP failure, you're having to justify policies that are unpopular, that Keir Starmer and the UK Labour Party have been trying to implement. So you're now having to waste your time, spend time justifying the unjustifiable, when actually you and the Scottish Labour Party should be doing your duty and basically effecting a massive opposition to the SNP and highlighting all the policy areas that are letting Scotland down.
Okay, I'll let you come back.
In a way, in a way, they're sort of in the situation where I think the Green Party in Scotland have found themselves. You should probably just break away at this point. If you're Scottish Labour, become an independent party, because you can't keep being chained to the neoliberal Westminster Labour Party and hope to succeed in the long run. You just can't do it. Again, she's right to a degree that the SNP government are quite unpopular, and a genuinely progressive Labour Party could fucking clean up. But that doesn't exist. True, yeah. So, like, they're just the SNP, even though they're unpopular, are going to absolutely hoover up votes because, like, we're not voting for this shower of wankers. They're just the Tories.
Like, John Swinney is not just a non-entity; he's a recycled non-entity.
Exactly. He's a used fucking spunk rag of a non-entity. Yeah.
Literally. And then he is just completely uncharismatic, empty husk of a human. And all he has to go is just go, look at Westminster. Westminster shit. Do you want that? And they go, oh, no, fuck it. Fucking hell, don't want that shit. Don't want any of that. Yeah. And it's easy. Clean up. Instantly clean up.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, look at him. Look at this freak. You want this man to lead anything? I wouldn't let this man try and organise a piss up in a brewery. Look at him.
Imagine being so rubbish you make John Swinney look good in comparison.
Exactly. Like, exactly. The man, he's like fucking Scottish Pat McFadden. Oh.
He is, isn't he?
Oh, God.
I'd like to say that there is a large number of people in Scotland who genuinely cannot work. You know, severely disabled people. A lot of these people can genuinely never work, and they should absolutely be given financial help and more if necessary, so that they are fully integrated in society and are able to live the best life that they possibly can. On the flip side, you do get a lot of people who are able to work who choose not to work. Now,
who are those people?
Again, they keep saying this. Never met one.
I don't know anyone like who's in that situation. Because it doesn't make sense to do that. If you can work and you would earn more money doing so, why would you not do so?
I mean, we've cut our welfare state to the bone that it is fucking humiliating living entirely off welfare, right? Yeah. I spent 2 months at like age 26 or something, or 20. I don't know whether it was when 2023 actually, but earlier. It was been like a couple of months living off of job seekers allowance, and it was fucking demeaning. It was miserable. I hated every minute of it. I felt like a failure. I felt I couldn't afford to do anything. It was miserable.
And they designed the system for you to react that way. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm just like, in what universe would that be a lifestyle choice for people? It doesn't make any sense to me. And and on top of this as well, they never bring people up. Fraser Nelson from The Spectator did a whole ass documentary deliberately to try and demean the disabled, right? To try and do Benefit Street to Electric Boogaloo. And even he couldn't find any deliberately unemployed people.
Yeah.
All he found was people who were genuinely disabled, who were trapped in a system that couldn't get them any help because the fucking NHS has been destroyed.
Yeah. Well, as quite rightly pointed out, the only person who could work and chooses not to is that Reform councillor. Who hasn't fucking done anything for 6 months, the lazy bastard.
Again, if you want to talk about, we want to talk about some fucking economically inactive people. Let's look at some stockbrokers. Let's look at some fucking landlords. Let's look at some private equity motherfuckers who turn their money into money. Those motherfuckers, they are economically inactive. Disabled people have to spend every single penny that they get because they are the biggest arbiters of the Keynesian multiplier. I do not give a shit. Yeah. However, parasitic leeches in the private equity and property markets, those people are economically inactive and they can get fucked.
Oh, I'm a stock portfolio manager. Really? Well, we've got streets that need cleaning. Grab a broom, you prick. Do something useful.
I work in the Scottish Ambulance Service and I meet many members of the public, and there are many, many people who are not working who are definitely able to work. And in many cases, the people...
And who are these people?
All these people you've had individual conversations with, where you have quizzed them about their work habits and their levels of disability, right?
Yeah.
What kind of fucking...
As they lie there bleeding out on my ambulance floor, yeah.
Yeah, literally, yeah, exactly. Just interrogating about their work status. I don't believe a fucking word of all this kind of saying.
No, he seems like a bit of a knob, in all honesty. He's wearing a polo thing, so...
Literally, he just knows. It's another I reckon.
Yeah.
Another I reckon person. I don't have any data, but I reckon.
Yeah.
Who actually aren't working are earning more money than people who are knocking their pan in at work. I'd like to ask the SNP women.
Any person who's ever lived on benefits knows that's not true. You like you say, at best you can survive on the breadline, and in some cases you can't even do that.
You've been in government all these years. Do you support that? Do you think that that's fair?
Well, one thing I would say right at the start is if you're on universal credit, which is what you are normally on, the Joseph Rowntree Foundations and others have demonstrated that it doesn't even cover the bare essentials. So if we have people that are economically inactive, then yes, we should be encouraging them into work, we should be supporting them into work, we should be ensuring that the systems are there. That's exactly why we have the employability schemes that we have, particularly for parents and those that are disabled, to support and encourage people into work. But I think we need to be very, very careful about assuming that people that are on benefits are somehow on easy street, because as all the evidence has shown, they are not able to afford the bare essentials.
Yep.
And I think it is something that we have to look at as a society about where our values are. Because I won't apologise for being there to support disabled people or their carers, because let's not forget, when you cut disabled people's benefits, you cut their carers' benefits as well. And nor will I apologise, and I think we should be proud as a nation that we have a social security system that will help people in their time of need, whether it's low income, carers or the disabled people. I think that's a kind of compassionate society, because we don't know, any of us, when we will be in that situation ourselves. And we should have a society that's there to protect people, encourage them into work, absolutely. But let's never leave anyone behind on that. That's not the type of Scotland I want to see.
Alice, do you want to
Yeah. Literally going back to exactly what I was saying before, people were fleeing England for their fucking lives. Under the Conservatives, I'm almost certainly again under Labour now, given they want to go even further than the draconian measures inflicted by IDS the Butcher on the people of this country, right? Scotland was the safe haven for these people. It's the crown jewel in what the SNP can look at their record over the last however many years, right? That they were there to protect the most vulnerable people from, quite frankly, a murderous campaign of cuts from the austerity governments of the Lib Dem Conservative coalition, from the Conservatives in government on their own, and now coming from Labour as well when it comes to taking away support from the disabled, right? They can hold their heads high that they supported the vulnerable in their time of need, and they should be absolutely talking about every single day of the week.
True, and the only crown jewel that wasn't stolen from India. So
true.
Nice.
In the red jacket, you're in a sense, you're slightly paraphrasing what John Curtis said, the poll guru said the worst thing that happened to Scottish Labour was that Keir Starmer got into power. True. What you're saying is that you're spending all your time defending his policies and not taking it on the SNP.
Look, I think the lady in the red jacket raises an important issue, but actually if you look at the example of the Hamilton-Larkhall...
Just ignore that. Just ignore that, the thing she said. You know that thing she just said? Just ignore that, yeah.
On Stonehouse by-election, where the SNP tried to portray it all as SNP versus reform and tried to push people into disgracefully tried to push people into the arms of Nigel Farage, or you had the reform...
I'm sorry, whose voters is Keir Starmer chasing right now?
Literally, fucking the Darvo shit here.
Like, I mean, motherfucker, I mean, unless you're now going to quote Enoch Powell, you're to the left of him. Like, chill out, my man.
Party doing their own dirty tactics in the campaign or trying to point at two governments. Ultimately, the overarching issue that meant that Scottish Labour won that by-election and ultimately beat the SNP and reform is that people recognise that we do need a change of direction here in Scotland. So, of course, there'll be lots of discussions about the rights and wrongs of a UK Labour government, but the harsh reality is, in May next year, we have a stark choice. A third decade of John Swinney and the SNP in charge of our NHS, with 1 in 6 Scots on a waiting list, in charge of our schools, with them falling down the international league tables, in charge of the criminal justice system when people can't get a police officer to come and help them when they need it, in charge of our transport.
If it's so bad, right, and I'm not arguing necessarily that, you know, there aren't fucking significant problems or that the SNP haven't always governed the most effectively they could have, but if it's so terrible, why aren't you, to paraphrase somebody else, why aren't you 20 points clear in the polls?
Exactly. You know, you're absolutely right. And again, they must be doing something right, because like the level of SNP support hasn't really fallen hugely broadly, right?
Yeah.
It's still not as high as it was from 2015, right? The absolute sweep of the election, the Nicola Sturgeon sweep, right? But even in the times where Labour won at the Westminster election, it was very, very small margins, and the Holyrood polls still showed the SNP ahead, right? Yeah. They couldn't be doing so much shit wrong if at no point they have fallen under 30% of the electorate.
Yeah.
Like they're polling better in Scotland than every single party is polling in England. Yeah. Even Reform, which are top of the polls, right? The SNP have more broad support in Scotland than the English parties do in England, as a share of the electorate, which shows that they can't be doing that much bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it talks about like water and transport, right? They nationalised trains before England got them. They're nationalised water. They have less shitty water than we do in the UK. Yeah. You know?
True.
They solved strikes. They solved strikes way before anyone else did.
Yeah. Indeed so. As someone pointed out, yeah, dirty tactics, like when you lost your seat in Westminster, Anas, and got put on the Holyrood list by Labour so that you didn't even have to stand for election.
Yeah,
that sort of thing, mate. Yeah.
And if we look at other like Scottish successes over the period of the 18 years they've been in government, through both Alex Salmond and through Nicola Sturgeon, to a lesser extent Yusuf and Swinney, you've got things like the baby boxes and the free prescriptions. They kept tuition-free education. They had things such as free transport for young people. They've given so much to their constituents in terms of progressive policy. And I think that, there's been bumpy rides along the way. I'm not saying they're perfect when you look at industrial policy, for example, but it's not been bad.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it can't be that bad, because even after, as he said, if they win the next election, they will have gone into a third decade as leaders of a part of a system that was specifically set up to avoid majorities, so they would have to form coalitions, and for the most part they've been a majority, or needed the help of a small number of Green MPs to get over the majority. They've absolutely taken that parliament by the dick. It's amazing. Yeah. It's incredible electoral success for a party that were nowhere 30 years ago, basically.
Well, they were the Tartan Tories, and they became a progressive party, and suddenly started winning elections. It's really weird, isn't it?
True.
As Nuraman points out in chat as well, this is at the same time as being monstered by the media, right? Apart from the National, essentially, every single media organisation in Scotland hates the SNP, publishes non-stop smear campaigns against them.
And all of the other parties except the Scottish Greens, because those are the two parties that are for independence. The other quote-unquote nationalist parties, or the unionist parties, are constantly ganging up on them and sacking them, to the point where you had bizarre things like apparently George Galloway is now in favour of Scottish independence, but if you remember a few months ago him saying he would vote for the Tories in his constituency because they were the unionist party most likely to keep an SNP seat out.
Well, yeah, and on councils,
what the fuck is that? What?
Yeah, on councils, you'd have Labour-Tory coalitions.
Yeah, mad. Just to keep out the nationalists. So in that incredibly hostile environment, they've done phenomenally well. Yeah. Again, because it's like Corbyn on, it's the constant smears and everyone ganging up on them, but they've been successful. Which is, it's very, very impressive. Thank you, Ruth Guthrie, who says, thanks, Helena and Kev, for recognising our our SNP party and Scottish politics. Well, I mean, it was because it was on Question Time, really, but we'll talk about this as and when it becomes nationally relevant or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. Scotland did, look, as pointed out, jewel in the crown, because England's a shithole.
System.
Trust me, as a city now being run by elk-sized rats, not literally, they've now done the council are such fucking grubby bastards they're now they've got just enough scab labour where they can get every area has their rubbish taken away about once every 3 weeks on average now, which means the piles of rubbish are bad, but they're not so bad that the national press give a fuck anymore. So the story's sort of gone away on the national stage. We're not being plastered across international news bulletins as rats take over large city, So the council are fine with that. Fucking evil bricks. And all through scab labour. I'm telling you, for the fact that we've got a Labour government nationally and a Labour council, the decade of renewal, it's not going great. Really,
Can't even build 2 ferries under this SNP government.
Oh, ferries!
New direction with Scottish Labour. Keir Starmer's not standing to be First Minister next year. It's a straight choice between John Swin and the SNP.
Now, it's not necessarily entirely Labour's fault, what I'm about to bring up, but you can't be like, they can't build a ferry, when you've literally had to just pause HS2 because they might have been doing loads of fraud and stuff. Like, you're
Minor
shit
point
as well.
I've recently had to be subjected to English train transport Glasgow to England was fined. After that it was horrific. And then on the
Thank
way
you,
back,
Sozzled Snake.
First class was buying a meal deal, but there was a charger.
By the way,
Yours was
I've been
great,
away
but
for
getting there sucked.
11. I've not streamed in 11 days, is it?
Yeah.
No, longer than that. It was Friday the 13th. Was the last time I streamed.
Good
It's been
God.
2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since I streamed, right? So if you can give me money, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I've just spent loads of money going to Vegas to do really badly.
She just fucking lost all her money at the Bellagio.
I must say, despite not gambling, the Bellagio building is beautiful. It was really, really cute. They had the fountains out the front, the big kind of stone.
Well, it must be impressive if nothing else.
It is. It was very impressive.
Like I quite liked it. The orb is obviously very silly, but having seen, I mean, unfortunately to you too, but having seen the pictures from inside when they have a show on, and literally you can essentially transform the entire arena into like the sky or space or fucking anything because it's all lights, right, all the way around, and it looks unbelievably cool. I have to say, it does look fucking awesome. So if I ever did go there, I'd have to try and catch a show or something.
That's the thing, right? Is that what's interesting was that the casinos on the Strip, the historic ones, so the Bellagio, Caesar's Palace, the Venetian, places like that, genuinely nice buildings, like stonework and brickwork, was really, really nice. And as soon as you get out of the Strip, it's all the new, like, modernist casinos, and they were a total fucking eyesore. They looked like office blocks. It was terrible.
Yeah. Also, I like the idea of traditional anything from Vegas. Like, it's traditional. It was built in 1962.
Like traditional America,
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, we've got one street that's cobbled. Brilliant, well done. Literally, we've got stadiums older than your country. Shut up. I literally drink in a bar that's twice as old as your nation. Go away.
Or me in Scottish Labour, and I'm confident in that choice. We will beat the SNP and take that new direction.
Now, you all want to come back on that, and you will get your chance a little bit further down the programme, I promise you, because we are going to be covering some of that in a couple of questions' time. Right, let's have a question first, though, from Jim Granger. Where are you sitting, Jim? Oh, there you go.
So, literally, no talk about the military budget at all, other than, no, that's fine. Yep. The cast iron consensus is that we need to spend tens and tens of billions more on weapons that we're never going to use. Fantastic.
Yep.
Absolutely excellent.
With an increasing number of Scots now paying for private healthcare, is Scotland's NHS dying before our eyes?
So, Jim, what you're referring to is a comment by the chair of the BMA up here in Scotland. And when he said the NHS is dying before our very eyes, he was commenting on the fact that waiting lists are not going down, and increasingly people here are turning to private healthcare. Are you proud of the record, Shirley-Ann, of the NHS?
There'll be nobody in this room, whether it's on the panel or the audience, that's not been touched by the need for an NHS at some point, whether that's a GP or through our hospitals. And we know that there are still people that are waiting too long. And we know that there is more to do on that. And that's exactly why we're driving the improvement through that we are. That's why we have...
But when you talk about improvement, Shirley-Ann, so waiting lists have fallen in England, only a little bit, but they have fallen. They have increased in Scotland over the same period. The number of people waiting to start treatment for over 2 years is far higher than the total of England. And when it comes to cancer patients, a smaller proportion of cancer patients than ever before on record are being treated within 62 days referral in Scotland. SNP's been in power for 18 years. How do you defend that?
Well, we know there are challenges in our health service, and I accepted that right.
That's a heck of a challenge I've outlined just there.
Absolutely right at the start of that. But we are seeing improvement. So, for example, 97% of people, if they're in hospital, are discharged without any delays. We are seeing more operations happening this year than we were last year. We made a promise last year when John Swinney became First Minister to deliver 64,000 more.
Like, sure, the waiting list might be going up, but that doesn't tell the whole story, does it? Like, there is obviously going to be kind of more issues with regards to the fact that Scotland's a bigger country. It's difficult to, with a less dense population, it's difficult to spread the same amount of money as thinly is a problem as well, on top of the fact that there are myriad other problems that Scotland deals with that's outside of the government's control in terms of public health. So you can't just say, unless you give a qualification.
Well,
right?
Exactly. The restrictions placed upon the Scottish government by the devolution settlement means they're always going to have to essentially be at the whim of London to some extent, because Barnett formula, etc., etc. They don't have the same money-raising powers, and they can't lend and all the rest of it, right? So, in terms of being able to do what they would want to do in some ideal independent situation, it's sort of difficult. It might almost seem hypothetical or whatever, but you'd have to sort of outline exactly what you wanted to do and what you thought the effect of that would be in that situation in order to counteract the bullshit that she's now saying. Because, you could make the argument, well, if we were able to do our thing completely, we can invest a lot more in the NHS and this problem wouldn't fucking exist. But that sounds kind of almost sci-fi, you're just sort of making stuff up about some, you're being utopian or whatever. But, that's ultimately, I think, the argument for independence, really, is that England is holding you back.
Yeah, it's true.
And she's undoubtedly correct in some senses.
Appointments and procedures, and we didn't do that. We did over 100,000, and we're making.
But if you're going to do independence, can you wait until after the Winter Olympics that's coming up next year? Because without the Scots, without our one medal from curling, that's always a Scottish team, we're fucked. So we got nothing. And then after that, we'll talk.
Same type of commitment this year.
So what do you say to the cancer patients that are waiting?
Well, I know myself, even at this very time, my family and my friends have been touched by cancer. There won't be somebody in this room who is not. And I know that there is cold comfort to people when we talk about statistics and we talk about numbers. And that's why we do feel exceptionally very, very...
See, now it would be metal as fuck and very accurate if the Tory went, I've not been touched by cancer. I am cancer. I am the toucher. Which also would be very Tory.
Sorry, for people that are waiting too long. That's a responsibility we have very, very deeply. But that's exactly why we have the cancer waiting time from when you're actually decision to treat to treatment is 3 days. 3 days. And that's an important reassurance that while I accept there is more to do...
Man-cheater, I know what you mean. They say, I'd argue Westminster is holding it back, not England per se, Kev. And I know what you mean there. Obviously, the institution's centred at Westminster. But, the English people largely vote for those motherfuckers. It's, there are, the Prime Minister, the previous fucking lad, was an MP in Yorkshire. It's nowhere fucking near Westminster. There are Tories everywhere, unfortunately. And if the Reform Party are going to hoover up seats in England, it's not just Westminster. Westminster doesn't, without being too, soy about it, the power is invested in the legislature from the people. It's that thing. Power goes upwards, not downwards. Yeah, so it's, the people put those people in the position of power, don't they? At least kind of, in the kind of democracy we kind of have. And so it's not just it's not just Westminster. It's unfortunately the people of England, and to a degree Wales, although Wales is a lot better, but still. Yes. So I mean, as the title of my stream, Britannia Delenda Est. Simples.
There is reassurance for people from that time of decision to treat to your first treatment. Your median wait is 3 days. And that's an important reassurance to get out. That's not taking away from any of the concern that people have, either in the audience or at home, about people who are waiting too long. But we're seeing that progress. You mentioned the 62 days. We're seeing progress, for example, in some of the work we're doing in our rapid treatment centres, rapid diagnostic centres, for example, in Lanarkshire, where that work will then be used, where they are meeting those targets, to ensure that we're doing that elsewhere in the country. So I accept the responsibility and the need for change, but that's exactly why we're investing in improvement.
Alice.
I agree there's a need for change, and the only way we get it is we boot this SNP government out of office next year. Let's look at the facts.
You will not be First Minister of Scotland, Anna, so...
It's not happening, is it?
No. I mean, to be fair, he has more of a chance of becoming First Minister than Kemi Badenoch of becoming Prime Minister, but, like, that's still, you know, it's 1,000,000 to 1 as opposed to 100,000 to 1. Like, no, you're not taking the bet either way.
Because the facts are really important. 1 in 6 Scots on an NHS waiting list. That's over 800,000. In NHS Fife alone, that's 42,000 people waiting for a test or treatment. 5,300 of them in Fife alone.
Just to explain for the Americans, yes, that is a musical instrument, we know, but it's the name of a place that really actually exists. We are a serious country, okay? You will take us seriously.
I mean, it seems reasonable to name things after musical instruments when there are plenty of places in the UK with more embarrassing names.
Oh, yeah. Also, America, there's undoubtedly like a banjo in Utah or something.
I'm going to have to search now. And I'm going to search specifically in Utah as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are only like 2 places in Utah, aren't there?
Oh, there's South Banjo Lane in Utah.
That'll do. Yeah, see? Dickheads.
Waiting over a year. And in a rare moment of candour, you had the Public Health Minister, Jenny Minto, yesterday admitting that the SNP's failure on cancer waiting times means people are dying too early. That is completely...
Yeah, and the Firth of Forth is also a silly name. Yeah. Although, still my favourite one ever, when there are 2 football teams. One is called East Fife, and the other one is Forfar, right? And so you had the scoreline, East Fife 4, Forfar 5. That actually happened. And I still love that string of noises, because it doesn't make any fucking sense.
And utterly unacceptable. And after 18 years, there's nobody else to blame other than the SNP. And that's why we need an urgent change. Right now in Scotland, 1 in 3 people are being forced to go private to pay for healthcare. And let's think about the examples of that. There are people who are remortgaging their homes, paying £16,000 to get a hip replacement. 40% of the hip and knee replacements that happen in our country.
True, but at least if you invest in that, you know your hips won't lie. So...
Scotland are paid for privately because of the incompetence of the SNP. That is simply unforgivable, and that's why it's really powerful when Dr. Ian Kennedy of the BMA says that the NHS is dying before our eyes. Put bluntly, I don't believe the NHS will survive a 3rd decade of John Swinney and the SNP.
And in the green and white top.
While I do agree with Anna's sentiment that we do need change from the SNP, it does feel like this is the same story as before with the UK. Right now...
What they need to do is get Baldrick up there and say, vote for change, yeah!
At the minute, I think Labour's having a crisis of identity and messaging, going from constant U-turns with winter fuel allowances to 5 pillars, messages... and aims or whatnot.
5 pillars? I'm sorry, what? I thought it was just New York that was going Islamophobe. Not Islamophobe, Islamophile, whatever.
We can have the Grand Caliphate of Glasgow.
Yeah. The People's Caliphate of Fife. Let's go.
It just feels really hard to try and find out what the Labour Party's identity is and its agenda, rather than from we don't want to be like the current government, we just want to represent change. Whereas change is this kind of ambiguous term that I feel like Labour don't really have the answer to at the minute.
We're in the green white.
Yeah, maybe that's the next Morgan McSweeney line.
Your Labour chappie.
Is technically we only said change. We didn't say good change.
We said change. Yeah.
What
was the Keir Starmer line again?
I don't know.
People want to see change, and I will be that change that will be bring about, or something like that. I don't know.
Exactly. Renewal doesn't necessarily mean something good. You know?
Yeah. You just said that... Sorry.
No problem.
I couldn't quite catch the name, sorry.
No problem.
You said that most people waiting for the hip replacement are going private. Those private people are knocking the lists bigger because it's the same doctors, same surgeons doing the surgery.
It literally is.
Because they're going...
It literally... My dad, when he went through his prostate cancer, my uncle, who's got a little bit of money, not a lot, but like was saying, like, just go fucking private because you'll never get on this waiting list and blah, blah, blah. And they looked into it, and literally it was the same fucking bloke. It doesn't matter if they went NHS or private, it would literally be the same surgeon in the same surgery. He'd just get a nicer bed.
Well, that's why literally every time someone says, "Oh, we can reduce the waiting list by using the private sector," they are fucking lying.
Full of shit. Absolutely full of shit. The private healthcare industry in the UK is essentially a leech, sucking money and life out of the NHS.
Also, Dogodak points that there's a sharp audience, and I agree that the audience is sharp, and I just feel like the political engagement is just better in Scotland.
It is,
Maybe that's why they have, like, not shit.
Yeah. Well, that's ultimately why they want to dumb everything down. They want an electorate that's too black-pilled and not educated. That's what they want.
Pacified.
Yeah.
A pacified electorate.
Well, exactly, yeah. An engaged, informed, and enthused electorate doesn't allow for neoliberalism to occur because it's obviously against their best interests. So you need to make them unaware of what their best interests even are.
Yep.
Tell them it's the small boats that are holding us back. I played a clip yesterday. It's a fantastic little silly bit of Bill Burr being interviewed, and he makes he's doing like a silly argument. He said, "What we need to do is get rid of all of the immigrants that come into the country, and then that will make the billionaires pay tax, because like that's the only reason that's been holding them back, right? So we just get rid of all the immigrants, and then they'll pay all the tax, and that'll be fine."
Yes, it's not a problem.
Private, they're knocking this bigger. You're not providing enough doctors. That's simple.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah. Just be interested to know how you're measuring the improvements that you're seeing.
The problem with stealing the third world doctors is eventually you run out of third world doctors to steal. It fucks them up and it fucks us up. So maybe we train our own fucking doctors.
In NHS, if you're saying that the waiting lists are going down, is it not just because more people are going private? Just today I was getting a private surgery, having been failed by the NHS twice to be something to get recognised, and I was forced to go private. So I'm just wondering how you measure that and make sure you're not just...
If you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about that. So how long were you waiting that in the end you made that decision?
I first got this looked at nearly 10 years ago by an NHS specialist dermatologist who didn't think there was anything to be concerned about. I followed up again a year ago. I was told the same thing. And I'm not blaming these doctors who are very pushed for time. I work in healthcare myself. But then I went to see a private doctor because I'm fortunate to have the means to be able to pay for private health insurance. And
if you work in healthcare and you didn't know which strings to pull over a decade, you need to work. You need to talk to your fucking colleagues. You need to actually network a bit. That's the one good thing. If you know someone who's a doctor, keep them close. Because they can pull strings for you and get you actual access in a way that you can't otherwise. It's the only way anyone gets any fucking surgery at all in Britain. It's because their uncle knows a bloke who down the pub who knows a guy who lives next door to a doctor.
Oh, literally, we have become like a fucking entire country of nepotism.
Basically, either that or be able to afford to go and get your fucking teeth done in Turkey. That's about it, really.
Yep.
Those are your options. Oh, anyway, thank you, Rachel, who says, don't be the change you wish to see in the world. Okay, anti-Obama, cool, yeah. I suppose I shouldn't do drone strikes either then. Curious.
Immediately rushed me to have it removed, so... But I firmly believe that healthcare should be accessible to everyone and should be equal. But I've kind of been forced into this situation where I don't want to deny myself the health care that I can afford, but it shouldn't be at the expense of others.
Thomas, when it comes to paying for private insurance, and you're saying that you wish you hadn't had to do that, I hear what you're saying. I mean, your leader, Nigel Farage, is in favour of that in certain circumstances. Isn't he? He said we need to, we could learn the lessons of the French system, which is partly state-funded and partly...
I'm sorry, what was the point of Brexit if we're going to learn things from French people? This is not the Brexit I voted for. I want purposefully to not do things that French people do.
It's so tilting to me that anytime a left-winger says, look at this European country, you think they do something better.
Look at what...
You hate Britain! You hate Britain!
Yeah, look at Norway. They're taking advantage of the fact that they've got the black gold underneath them. Let's do that. You communist. What, you hate Britain, do you? Anyway, let me tell you about... the
French healthcare.
I don't know, the fucking the American healthcare system. Oh, for fuck's sake, that noise. It's going to fucking kill me. Thank you, Vicky, who says, Kev, there are doctors we've trained who can't get any further placements, so they're having to look abroad or get other work. Well, exactly. I mean, not just that they can't get further, but even those that are employed. The terms and conditions are shit. They're treated terribly by the government. The hours are appalling. The health and safety is bad in fucking buildings that are falling apart. Why wouldn't they go and live in Australia? Go and live on the fucking beach and get paid a decent amount of money in a society that seemingly gives a fuck about you.
Exactly.
Why would you stay? No offence to anyone, but look, in rainy Barnsley, earning just enough to keep you out of the fucking food bank. Maybe, and then they'll bang pots and pans for you or something. Like it's not a difficult choice for a lot of people, I think.
No, exactly.
Private insurance.
As we've just heard, there's already an element in the British system where people are going private. Actually, too many people are going private. The fact that in places like the East End of Glasgow, you're now seeing adverts on television, on STV, to advertise private healthcare says a lot as to how far we have fallen as the NHS. So the NHS isn't...
Are you suggesting we should ban private healthcare from advertising? Because I'm with you. Because I don't think they should be allowed to exist. But, yeah, that goes against your free market policy, doesn't it, friend? A little bit, maybe?
But again, it's so funny that Nigel Farage says, well, I've never been a popularist, right? I always have principles and try and convince people of them. It's like, motherfucker, you have spent the last year reinventing yourself.
Oh, no. Honestly, he's going to go into the next election talking about fixing the foundations. I fucking guarantee it, the little prick.
Working in its current system, it does have to be looked at and it has to be reformed. My position is very clear on it. You need to cut the amount of waste that does exist in the NHS. It is a huge...
Hey, the Conservative answer to everything. Pretend there's loads of waste we can just cut.
Literally, there's efficiency savings, honest. I know David Cameron and George Osborne couldn't find them in fucking 5 years, but we'll find the things that they missed, honest, I promise.
Yeah.
Bureaucracy, and just throwing money at it doesn't work. We've seen that time and time again. We have record funding in the NHS, but it's still not working for people on the ground.
But
so
do you support the idea of a mixed economy, like the French system, where in large part the private insurance system is paid for by employers rather than individuals, which I suspect
as long as healthcare is free,
anyone... Yeah, fuck the unemployed, you can die. There you go.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Also, I do want to have to listen to Scottish people say the word doge. Doge!
Doge.
Oh, hello.
Stephen Flynn in Parliament talking about Doge. Let's go.
Yeah. Although there isn't an R in Doge. That's a
True.
shame.
Just can't hear him roll it.
Yeah.
One who needs it, then I don't mind where someone gets their healthcare at all.
Well, it's not free if you're paying for it through insurance.
No, but if you can afford it and you want to pay it privately, then that's entirely up to a person individually. The point I'm making is that every single person in this audience and at home should have the access to...
Nigel Farage just donated $3 to me.
Hey,
I suspect if I go and check my PayPal, their actual name will not be Nigel Farage.
Free healthcare, that's always been Reform's position. This idea we're going to privatise the NHS is nonsense.
Thank you, Nigel.
From the Labour Party. But Nigel has been very clear on this, and we've heard this, by the way, from the SNP and Labour when to the Conservatives were going to privatise the NHS as well at one point. Everybody's going to privatise the NHS. It's not the case.
To be fair, they have increased privatisation pretty significantly.
And so have Labour. Like, if you've all done it, and the reform, at least, I mean, to be fair, at least for Reform UK, they've gone out specifically and said, yeah, we will end the NHS, right? They keep denying it, but they, the principle of the NHS being publicly funded for the point of use will end, therefore we'll have no NHS anymore. Yeah. And they've been open about their position. They lie about what that entails, but they're open about it. Whereas the kind of surreptitious privatization by stealth that the Tories and Labour have been engaged in since 1992 or whatever, that's never been admitted to. Yeah, true. No, that's fair enough. Wayward, you don't have to call Wayward Historian, who's like my parasocial PA, calls everyone a rock star who donates to me and says thank you, because I sometimes forget, and they said I refuse to call Nigel Farage a rock star. Fair enough. That's absolutely fine.
Whatsoever. I am very much in favour of a system where if we can make sure we reform the system, whoever is given that healthcare, whoever can afford it, that's absolutely fine, but it has to be the principles of free at the point of need. But we need to get away from the idea that the NHS somehow just keeps getting better when we throw money at it. That's not the case at all. It has to be reformed properly.
It literally does. Again, as was pointed out in chat, the last time we just threw money at it, it was the #1 healthcare system in the world.
Yeah. And even Labour's somewhat shitty interpretation of that at the start. They invested some money and the waiting lists went down. What a fucking surprise.
It's just like the poverty thing, which is like, we can't just throw money at poverty. You absolutely fucking can.
Yeah, look, when poverty means not enough money, throwing money at it seems like actually a very good way of tackling that problem.
Literally.
In the same way that, it's like, so you can't just throw water at the fire. Actually, you probably should. Probably quite a lot of water would help.
And we have to find a way of fixing it. The last thing I want to say is, here in Scotland, one of the big issues we're having is the number of doctors who are leaving. Because we have a higher tax system in Scotland, which has mean that people who are learning in our universities, like here in St Andrews, are then leaving to go down to England or to go travel abroad. I think we have to look at the tax system in Scotland to make sure it's fairer, to try and keep our homegrown talent here, to make sure the NHS works. I think that's just common sense.
I honestly think if you are, because it doesn't matter how much, even with the tuition fees, I think it's something like for every £1 you put in, the government still put 11 in, right, to your education. Now, I think it should be free, so it should be 12. All £12 should be paid by the fucking government. But if you're getting that kind of investment in your training, and you want to fuck off abroad, you should have to pay back every penny of that. If you but I don't want to be like authoritarian and say you can't leave. Fuck you. No, okay. If you want to go to Australia and earn more money, fine. You pay us back the fucking 200 grand it costs to fucking train you then.
Yeah, all of the investment that we put in, exactly. I agree. And that's the other thing as well, is he goes, we need to look at the tax system because doctors are being taxed too much. I'm like, well, a tax cut for a doctor coming from the state is literally just a pay rise. Just pay them more, right? Yeah. You don't have to slash taxes. And even then, like, I wouldn't even buy the idea that it's necessarily taxation that's making them move country. It's the poor pay that is unique to every single doctor in that across the UK. You compare the salaries, the taxation levels aren't that different between the UK and Australia. It's the salary that's different.
Yep.
Sense to try and make sure we do that.
Leslie. Right, Thomas, what happened to the 380 million quid a week we were going to get from Brexit?
True.
And what happened to Brexit stopping us being able to recruit?
I think the people of Scotland are on board with that. This is the one night the Lib Dems might have got a round of applause. No!
There, because those of us who've been around a wee bit have had lots of big promises made about the health service. Somebody mentioned the French system or a different system. Try the Norwegian system. It's a proper health service, and it was funded on actually some of the profits from an oil fund. Oh, actually, we didn't get one in Scotland because, I'm sorry, we're part of a country.
True, we were handed black gold, and Thatcher went, I'll tell you what we can do. We can spunk this up the wall. Just free market the fucking thing. Whippy! And we ruined it.
Yeah, let's fund the dole queues for 14% unemployment with it, shall we?
Fantastic stuff.
Investment, what's that?
Saudi Arabia are building like fucking 200-mile long straight cities Like, I mean, they shouldn't. It's dumb, but they can afford to do that because they benefit. Well, at least their ruling class benefit from that oil. It's not just free marketed or whatever.
We could have put a Las Vegas orb on Arthur's seat.
We could have done that. We could have done, absolutely. Yeah. Well, someone suggested, fuck it, why not just put an orb on top of the Burj Khalifa? You can afford it. It seems as dumb as putting it anywhere else. Yeah.
Decided to elect somebody who just used that money to privatise utilities, creating an utterly unsustainable set of services in Britain, mostly in England, which basically we're still trying to fix. So, you know, in an overall sense, we are stuck with the capacity to fund health that's a function of the English system. That's how the Barnett formula works.
Nonsense.
And the health and social...
Look, you know what you need to do? President Xi, the Scottish people cry out for liberation.
They do. They absolutely do. I mean, honestly, I mean, Scotland claims it's a Nordic country. They might as well just merge with fucking Denmark or Norway or some shit.
Go with Norway. Yeah, fuck it. At least, I mean, literally, I mean, the Norwegian islands and the fucking Scottish islands aren't even that far apart.
No, exactly.
And with your combined oil bridge, you just build a big fucking bridge. Fuck it.
Yeah, exactly.
You can afford to do it. It'd be mental, but you could do it. Be a fucking a Gulf petro state in the middle of the Arctic. Fuck it, who cares?
Care Act of 2012 fundamentally privatised a whole lot of stuff in England. So we've got a bit of a mess going on with healthcare here. We've got a static life expectancy, which is shameful given the amount of wealth there is in this country. And overall, our health is not great. We need to be able to spend more money on it. Actually, Scotland would be able to spend more money if it was independent. And it's as clear as that.
Andrew. Andrew, you're laughing at that.
Well, I'm laughing at that because there's no evidential basis for that argument at all. This is coming from...
Which bit of it?
The fact that Scotland...
The bit where she claims that people would pay us money for oil and we could use that money to invest in things. That's crazy. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Oil is worthless.
Yeah, thankfully, no country has ever done that at all in the history of the world. So it is just complete. It is just total fantasy.
Have you noticed that the countries that have oil never build anything? It's true. There's no buildings in any country that has oil.
Yep.
It's not.
No,
it's
nothing at all. Nothing at all. They're all just fucking empty, full of unemployed people.
True, literally. R.I.P. Norway.
Would somehow magically be able to spend more on its health service if it was independent. This is from an organisation, a campaign group that can't even tell you what currency Scotland would be using post-independence, let alone how it would spend that currency on healthcare. Look, I have to say...
That is where the independence movement need to get off the fence. You can't keep pretending you can keep the pound and be an independent country. Because you can't. Because you're at the whims of the Bank of England still.
Yeah, have a fucking central bank. Just have a Scottish fucking central bank.
Yeah, Scottish central bank and do your own currency. That's the only way you can actually be independent. You have to do a clean break with it, you know? Whereas they don't want to, put off maybe some people who are a bit worried about losing the pound. Like, okay, but you have to, take the actual independent stance, I think.
Oh, I mean, if you're so worried about the pound as, a kind of symbolic part of Scotland, just create a new currency and call it the Scottish pound. There are a million countries that have dollars and dinars.
And they already have some of their own printed banknotes.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Well, I mean, in theory, you'd probably join the euro at some point, but that wouldn't be straight away. You'd need at least a stepping stone currency or something.
I have to say that the situation in the NHS in Scotland,
anymore?
the situation we weren't a part of the euro anyway, so the argument's null and void, right? The situation in Scotland is dreadful. I was asked during the election if I thought Scotland had or was going to move towards a two-tier system for healthcare. Scotland already has a two-tier system for healthcare. I'm struck by the number of constituents that come into my surgeries on a weekly basis who are waiting months and sometimes years for a surgery. That has to change.
You know, it also has two tiers. A lattice of chips. Boom! Let's go!
You know what has three tiers?
No.
The subscriptions on Twitch, which
you
can do
let's go.
to help fund the channel, to keep us going.
See,
subscribing.
She's been to Vegas now. She's got that slick salesman patter down.
I do. I just work in sales for 6 years, but yes.
That's fair. That's also a thing, I guess. Yeah. Whereas I will berate people who give me money. I'm not the opposite of a salesperson.
The SNP have been in control of the NHS in
Scotland.
From?
I mean, you already want to cut money from benefits. You have just, for example, your party, Keir Starmer, on Monday, committed 48 billion to defence spending, which was the first question we never really answered properly.
Exactly.
Where are you going to find the money?
Also, she's got more balls than all of these motherfuckers because she's just cooked 2 of them. She's just gone, no, I'm going to talk over you, Andrew. You're a prick, mate, and I'm going to insult you and you, Anas. I'll take both of you, you pricks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good on her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's let Andrew answer first, and then I'll come to Anas.
The point on waiting lists is incredibly important and dominates the airwaves, rightfully so.
But you presume, Andrew, hang on, you presume are not proud of the Conservative record down in England when it comes to waiting lists in the NHS.
Well, look,
being very critical of what's happening here in Scotland, you can't be proud of that.
I'm very critical of what's happening in Scotland because I represent the Scottish constituencies.
What about
my constituents are affected by what is happening here in Scotland.
What about the record in England
years.
under the Conservative?
Yeah, you were in the Westminster Parliament, mate. Like, you don't get to just ignore that.
Donated $3.
And again,
Matt,
as was
did
pointed
you know
out
that you
earlier,
too
like,
can skip
the
ads
Barnett
and
formula
subscribe
means
today
that their
with Twitch
failure
Prime?
on the
It's free if
NHS
you
is at
link
least
your
partly
Amazon
to
Prime
blame
account
for
with your
anything
Twitch
that happens
account.
with the NHS in Scotland, because that's a function of their spending envelope.
Indeed, yes. I don't know what the hell you just said, by the way, because there was a voice thing and I didn't hear what that was, because you were talking over each other, but you didn't know because you couldn't hear it. So thank you to whoever that was, and what have you said, unless it was very racist, I don't know. It could have been, I didn't understand a fucking word of it.
Conservative government when it comes to
waiting.
We
saw record spending on the National Health Service in England under the Conservatives. Yes, we saw waiting lists increase. That was partly as a result of COVID and partly as a result of the junior doctors' strike.
No. I think you'll find it was partly because of the cuts that you did.
Yeah, the cuts you did, and the fact that you wanted the bodies to pile high.
Well, yeah, the NHS waiting lists, they were kind of rising very heavily when you were cutting the NHS in the 2010s, mate. You don't get to fucking wave that away by going, oh, just blame COVID, blame the junior doctors, when the junior doctors basically had no impact on waiting lists. They really didn't.
Pretty much, yeah.
It was purely the fact that we had underprepared for a pandemic because we'd cut the fucking NHS to the bone.
Not just underprepared, but then when we pretended it was over and went, let's do Eat Out to help out, that couldn't possibly end up disastrously. And then let's elect the guy who did that policy to become Prime Minister. Like, it's just, the Tory party is just a system for failure being rewarded.
They're literally failing upwards, the political movement.
Yeah, like fucking Theresa May loses the dossier on fucking Westminster pedophiles, becomes Prime Minister. Boris Johnson, I mean, just... where do you even start with him? Becomes Prime Minister. Fucking Liz Truss, a spectacular freak, becomes Prime Minister. And then the fucking Prime Miniature arrives.
Yeah, having been the architect of, like, the mass murder campaign.
The cavalcade of wankers. Honestly, it's bizarre to me that Michael Gove didn't become Prime Minister at some point, because at least he's vaguely competent by comparison to all of them. Maybe that's what put them off. They were scared because he can actually read or something, I don't know.
But they might take away the cocaine if he became Prime Minister, and that might impact his effectiveness. Maybe that's the secret to his power.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It was like, can I do a line off the back of Donald Trump, like at the G8 or something? No, well, I don't want it then. What's the point? What's the point? If me and Emmanuel can't fucking sit back with a line of Chaz on Air Force One, there's no point.
Which amazingly, after they went back to work, saw waiting lists come down. But my point was going to move on from waiting lists. We've got a huge problem in rural Scotland in recruiting general practitioners. We've got villages in Scotland now without a GP, a functioning GP practice. That has to be resolved and it has to be actioned upon. So all this debate about waiting lists, whilst right, we need to look wider because the problems of Scotland's NHS don't stop at waiting lists. They are far deeper than that.
Okay, you both want to come back in, so briefly.
That's exactly why we are taking some of the action I've mentioned about rapid treatment centres. But can we just be clear? We have parties here that want to cut taxes in Scotland. Now, we do have a progressive tax system in Scotland. The majority of Scots pay less tax than the rest of the UK, but we do ask people to spend a little bit more if they can. For that, they have free tuition. I think there's a big difference with what happened, for example, in St Andrews. Because of that, we have free prescriptions. I think it's over £10 now for each prescription in the rest of the UK. it's free up here. So yes, we ask people to pay a little bit more, and for that you get other services that are not available in the rest of the UK. But the tax that we spend, the tax that we raise here in Scotland gives us more than £1 billion extra than they would normally have. So if people like Labour and the Tories and Reform...
She makes a very erudite way of putting it all, right? But it's so shameful that both the Conservative Party and the Labour Party, who, look, obviously there were, or even historically there were differences and stuff, but both of them fundamentally believed in the sustenance of the state, at the very least, right? And that you had to pay for that in some way. They've both so abandoned the concept of any possibility of tax and spend that even now, like it's not even a part of the discourse, to the point where the SNP woman there has to explain the basics of, if you're rich enough, you can pay a little bit more, and you can have a functioning fucking society. You can actually have a thing that works. Like, I look at other countries, and they're able to build a railway, or they're able to have a hospital that fucking works.
President Xi, my country yearns for freedom.
Literally, yeah. And Britain, it's like, no, we can't build a railway, we can't dig a tunnel, we can't have a fucking hospital that works. Schools are literally still crumbling. We've got the thing that happened with Grenfell. That cladding's still everywhere. That's going to happen again at some point, I'm sure. And fucking 20 more people, 50 more people will fucking die, and no one will go to prison for it. Like, they've totally abandoned any semblance of trying to govern.
It's so true. It's so true.
It's so fucking jarring. And they're going to be replaced by Nigel Farage, who can't even be asked to turn up to Clacton. So what the fuck's he going to do? You know, you have to go to meetings every day as Prime Minister, right? You don't get to just fucking swan off to the south of France and fucking put your trotters up.
Want to cut the taxes. What they're effectively saying is, we will take at least £1 billion out of public services, and somehow they think that will help the NHS or help our education. So let's be very clear, when people are promised you tax cuts or criticising the SNP for, yes, having a progressive system, what are they going to take away?
Amazing getting economic lectures from a party that spent £500 million for a ferry that was two ferries that were supposed to cost £97 million. I think
I'm more happy that £3 donation talked over Anna Sawa. Because who cares what that prick has to say?
But just in general, it's like, sure, they may have messed up some ferry contracts, big whoop, right? Coming from the people who, when they were in government, were there, who oversaw the financial crisis because they didn't rein in the financial sector.
Not just that, but it was the Tories, but whatever. Talking about ferry contracts, at least this is actually a ferry company and not just a false company that was a ferry company that had no fucking ferries.
True. They're better than Chris Grayling. Not exactly the largest kind of barrier.
Although it's still, I can't believe it was just passed by as if it was nothing story. That after Boris Johnson left office, it was revealed that he had plans put in place for the potential for British special forces to invade the Netherlands and steal their vaccines. Literally, we were so fucked as a nation, we were going to employ our fucking special boat service to go over and steal your fucking vaccine because we didn't have anything. We were going to become a bandit. We were going to become fucking Ethiopian pirates, basically, but in the North Sea. We were just going to steal all of your shit. Mad. And that's just accepted. That's fine. Yeah.
It was a really weird time. It was a really hyper-normal time, that wasn't it?
Yeah, what banter.
I think Leslie and Shirley Ann fundamentally missed the point about the National Health Service. We are spending more money than we've ever spent before in the National Health Service in Scotland. We have more staff than we've ever had before. And there have been over £3 billion of additional money going to Scotland's NHS.
The population has increased, therefore you spend more. Well done.
Yeah, good stuff.
Consequences of decisions made by UK Labour government. But performance is still getting poorer. And in reference to the lady in the green top and the young man that spoke earlier on, we have to fundamentally change the system. Because right now, we have an SNP government that is doing layer after layer of management and bureaucracy, where we have a situation with a population of 5.5 million people. We have 14 territorial boards, 6 specialist boards, 30 integrated joint boards, managers, chief executives, finance directors, when that money should be stripped back and it should be going to the nurses, the doctors.
Okay, and that sounds nice, but you realise there's a reason for that. You build in these safeguards.
I mean,
like, I'm not arguing there isn't any way you can cut some of the fat, but when he goes on about boards, or like with this NHS England restructuring, you can jig and poke and do this and that. You're not going to save that much money. And potentially, if you get rid of enough, if you do the kaplunk thing of pulling out enough things, marbles start to fall. And by marbles, I mean human fucking lives.
It's so true. It's so true. And again, like, we are an undermanaged healthcare service in the kind of the global realm, right? The idea that somehow we're just every facet of the NHS is full to brim with managers. Well, no, actually, we have fewer managers per staff member of the NHS than most other countries of a similar size.
Whenever there's any scandal in the NHS about, like, you know, Alderhay, when they were storing body parts and stuff, right? Baby body parts against the will of the parent, or without the parent's knowledge, right? Or there's the Lucy Letby thing, or whatever. Whenever there's some sort of scandal, it's always because of lack of oversight by management. That's why. It's not because of too much fucking management. It's not because of too much oversight. It's not enough oversight. I wonder why.
And the treatments so we can clear the NHS backlogs and get our NHS fit for the future.
Let's take another question. Ivor Campbell, where are
Although,
you sitting?
considering that the Labour Party through Keir Starmer are becoming the fucking a one-man shipman routine, who want to go around killing old people and poor people, the Kim Ledbetter genocide that's coming. Maybe they just, that's why they don't want the oversight. I don't know.
Ivor Campbell. That's
here.
You. In the. Oh, there you are.
The attractive chap over here.
Yes, absolutely. As you describe yourself. Well done, sir.
Yes, self-described. How should serious voters respond to the shallow marketplace of ideas facing Scotland?
If I say there are 2 reasons that I think he looks like Ken Clarke. Not Ken Clarke, what was his name? Oh, fuck's sake, the old Labour minister. His name was Clarke. I can't remember his fucking first name now.
Scottish voters ahead of next year's Holyrood elections.
Well, shallow marketplace of ideas, Ivor.
That's a fucking dumb question.
Leslie.
That is a very dumb question.
I don't
I will say, what I will say,
Anyways, there.
Oh, 1 second.
I was listening to what...
What I will say is it's 1 a.m. and I'm tired. Do you want to finish this tomorrow?
Yeah, can do. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
You've travelled a long way. Yes, that is.
Like I spent all of yesterday flying. I spent most of today on trains. I would like to sleep.
That's absolutely fair. It's going to annoy me who this fucking Labour minister was.
Charles Clarke?
Charles Clarke! I was on about his big fucking ears. Anyway. And not just his big ears, the shape of them was very specifically Charles Clarke. Anyway, yes, we'll finish this off tomorrow if you want. I'm on with Christy, but that's the flexible. We usually start either 6 or 7.
Well, I was going to do an afternoon stream anyway because I'm going to play Magic in the evening.
Cool.
So what that means is I can do my solo stream stuff that I planned to do on like YouTube and Twitch up until like 5.
Yeah.
And then I can jump to doing Twitch only from 5 till 6 for us to finish this off, and then you can carry on with Christy afterwards.
Fucking awesome. It's a date.
Sick. Let's do that.
Okay,
anyway, everyone go follow KF Logan 1875 on the various platforms.
Everyone go and follow No Justice MTG, who I think is now basically just an American streamer, no less.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I am. Should we raid into Lux Progressive? She's been tweeting hard about.
She has been good, yes.
Dani stuff.
Yeah. She's been awesome. Everyone go and follow Lux Progressive, who is, I'm going to say, No Justice 2.0.
An up-and-comer.
A fine young lady streamer, who deserves some support and love.
Absolutely. Go spam some Corbyn emotes.
Yes, and tell them that's the British Mam Dani.
Exactly. They got the same the same like Zionist treatment.
Well, did you see Fartlow's tweet about we had this in Britain with Jeremy Corbyn, and ironically she was correct, but in not the way she meant, because they were smeared as anti-Semites and all the rest of it. The difference being, of course, it didn't work this time, did it, dickheads?
Hey, let's fucking go.
Indeed.
Anyway, I'll see everyone tomorrow. Take care and see you later and enjoy the raid.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.